Good morning. It is a Monday edition of Glenn Clark Radio. I'm Glenn. He's Griffin. A lot to do. Enjoyed sitting around watching football this weekend. I mostly did. It was a very weird night last night where, obviously you're not rooting for the Steelers. At the same time, you're also not rooting for the Jets. There's just something about Aaron Rodgers' smug face that, makes it very difficult to embrace. It's sort of like how, Lord knows I'm not rooting for the Yankees in the World Series, but there's nothing that feels good about the Dodgers either. It's one of those situations. So there was no joy in that, and obviously you never want to see the Steelers win on top of it. But other than that, I thought it was a pretty fun weekend of just being able to watch football. Georgia, Texas on Saturday. It was a fun weekend. It was a fun weekend. Here's the dirty little secret. In our business, Monday Night Football, poison. Thursday Night Football, poison. Once you get to the fall, everything is set up around Sunday. The structure for the week. You know it from the way we do things, right? You have segments that you do on certain dates. Everything is lined up for Sundays. Later on this season, the Ravens are going to play a game on a Wednesday. Dogs and cats living together. I don't know what to do with that. When do we do what? And we don't even do as many of the segments as we used to. Man, I used to, the entire show. For those of you that have been around for a long time, you remember, the 5 plays that told the story. You remember the thing that we did to preview games on Fridays. I don't remember what that segment was called now. What the hell was that segment called? Three things? Something like that? We've even gotten rid of some of it. Just because it was too much work. Truth be told. Too much work. But, damn, dude. Damn. If Monday Night Football isn't the enemy of what we do. Because it's supposed to be come in on Monday, recap, you get a couple of days, then you transition into the next game, the next week, the whole thing. I don't know what I'm doing here. I don't know how to handle any of this.
How long have you been doing Monday Night Football? Forever?
No, not forever. Is it 50 years? I feel like there was an anniversary recently.
Anniversary.
I feel like
Monday
there was
night.
a recent anniversary that was celebrated. Oh, man. Hang on a second.
19.
Yeah, 50. It must have been the 50th. Must have been in 2019 or 2020. So, yeah, that's the. So it's 50. You're all right out there. I don't know what's going on with him. 53, 54 years, something like that. Monday Night Football. So I don't know why we asked that question, but there, I got you the bottom of that, and don't say I never did anything for you.
I don't know, because it was a fair point about how
It's
much
existed as long
non-Sunday football throws everything
certainly as
off.
long as I've been doing this. I know that much. Thursday Night Football hasn't. Thursday Night my career predates Thursday Night Football.
Jeez.
Yep. Now, they did do, obviously, Thanksgiving football.
Okay.
But that was it. I even want to say they did the kickoff game before they initiated weekly Thursday Night Football. When did Thursday Night Football start? This is, you've tuned in for Glenn Clark Googles things.
I kind of liked
Aren't you lucky to be alive and choosing this?
Because I remember it was
Thursday Night Football.
they wouldn't start it until week 7 or 8 or something.
They did do that at one point, but...
And then all of a sudden they just started doing it every week, and it was like, okay, I guess.
Thursday Night Football debuted on November 13th, 2006. That was the original Thursday Night Football, and my career began in 2004. So
and were you guys
my career
what?
does. There was a lot more anti-Thursday Night Football sentiment. Now it's funny because I was definitely part of that. This sucks. The quality of the football's bad. I was in that group. I quickly, once you got accustomed to it, I moved into the camp of, hey, even though the quality of the football sucks, I don't want to get rid of it. And that's a take that I've had for years, I guess decades at this point, that it doesn't matter. Player safety be damned. You're asking me to give up football? Yeah, I'm not going to do that. You're never going to get me to voluntarily have less football. I get to any night during the week where there's no football, and I am the sad. I am just the sad. Tomorrow night, I will be the sad.
Well, we get CUSA Tuesday.
Right. No, football. Football worth watching.
I mean, there's going to be guys throwing a pigskin around.
God bless them. If I lived in one of those markets, I might be interested or invested in CUSA football. If I was a degenerate, I'd be interested in invested in that type of football.
Definitely
I am
invested.
not. I am not. There is no – oh, you qualify in one of those two camps? Is that what's going on over there? Is that what we've learned? Wednesday night, of course, we'll have the Arthur Millette Show, and you can come join us at the Gourmet just over yonder at the shops at Kenilworth. We'll be there, myself, Rita, Arthur Millette, his special guest. We want to see you right here in Towson for the Arthur Millette Show Wednesday night. Find out more, PressBoxOnline.com/Millette. It's all brought to you by Easy Pass and HelpMyGamblingProblem.org. Of course, the question today will be whether or not Arthur Millette will be on the field for tonight. The Ravens, I believe, have until 4 o'clock. We know they have to make one roster move because they put Deontay Hardy, unfortunately, on IR over the weekend. So there's some thought that might be Chase Collier, because right now they would only have 2 running backs going into the game. So I believe and I think can they use one more practice squad designation on Chase Collier?
He's definitely played at least once.
So if it's I'm sorry.
So if it's the 3rd time they have to sign him, right?
I think they have to sign him after the 3rd time.
Okay.
Is that right?
I mean, and then it's just something where they say,
I'm sorry. I don't know. I think they have.
He was elevated for the Bengals game.
Right. So that was 2 games ago.
Yeah.
And then he was elevated again last game.
Don't know.
How many practice squad elevations? This is really Glenn Clark.
Someone's got to know.
Can you have before? All right, hang on a second. Maximum of 3 times. Yeah, that's what I thought. So he could be used 3 times. So they don't necessarily have to put Chase Collier, unless I'm missing something, unless he's secretly snuck into another game that I don't remember. They don't necessarily have to put him on the roster in order to have him.
I think
today they what?
Zarebeck tweeted yesterday that Collier is out of elevation, so he'd have to be
okay.
So he would have to be added to the 53.
There you go. There's your answer. Thank you, Jeff Zarebeck. I don't know how I missed that.
Well, I missed it too so.
Well, we were watching football. I mean, let's be honest. When did he tweet that?
Oh, actually, it was Saturday. Okay, so that would be technically the Friday practice. During that Friday practice window, which was on Saturday this week.
Okay, so yes, so Chase Collier, it would make sense for the Ravens to not want to go into a game with only 2 running backs on the roster. I'm not that I'm fearful, but it's just not something that you necessarily want to do. You get to a point where somehow everything goes to hell and you're just going to have to hand the ball off to Pat Ricard for the rest of the game. So I could see, even in a scenario where one of your running backs gets hurt, you don't want to have to put the other one out there for every snap. I would be stunned if there wasn't a 3rd running back on the roster. I'd be stunned if Chase Collier wasn't one of the moves then. The other question is more related to Arthur Millette, which is Broderick Washington, I think, is slated to miss another game this week. And I think a lot of people believe that at some point the Ravens might simply choose to use an IR spot on him. If somebody's going to be missing time, then it just sort of makes more sense.
That was the other thing Zarebeck pointed out. He said maybe IR Rasheen Ali.
Or Rasheen Ali could be. And that would be a one-on-one trade-off. Right? It would be hey, if this guy, first of all, with all due respect to Rasheen Ali, how valuable is his roster spot at this point?
Mm-hmm.
That doesn't mean Broderick Washington couldn't also be in this conversation. Right. If, for example, they just really don't like Chase Collier and they don't want to commit to him being on the roster for a couple of weeks. So I don't know. I'm not going to pretend to be aware of their thinking. And there's no guarantee that Arthur Millette plays tonight. As has been brought up by a few folks, the Ravens might well, just simply for roster reasons, choose to say, we don't need to make one of these IR moves. We have to have a group of inactives anyway. So let's just wait it out. I do know that Arthur Millette is in Tampa. I'm not telling you anything that you couldn't know because you can follow him on social and see that he's in Tampa. Like, it's not me giving away any trade insider secrets. Like, oh, scoop. I think he was posting a picture from the steakhouse last night. Like, he's in Tampa. So we'll find out at some point this afternoon if Arthur Millette will join the active roster ahead of game time. But the Ravens have to make at least one roster move, and we will see if they make another related to Arthur Millette coming up before their game against the Buccaneers. So that's what's going on as far as there's nothing else really to say. This is why Monday Night Football stinks. What the hell else am I going to say? We said it all last week.
Who do you think's going to win?
I've been through all this. I think the Ravens are going to cover. I mean, like, this is really why it's infuriating doing Monday Night Football. We spent the entirety of last week talking about this game. I'm supposed to talk about the game more? It
is football.
We will chat about the game with our friend Rick Stroud, who covers the Buccaneers. I don't want to do it, but I'll let somebody else do it. That's my policy. I'm done. I've told you everything I feel about the football game, but let's find out what other people think. Rick Stroud, who covers the Buccaneers for the Tampa Bay Times, will check in with us a little bit later on. Also this morning, I got the chance to get out to Fair Hill yesterday for the final day of the Maryland 5-Star. We will recap the event with President and CEO of the Maryland 5-Star, Jeff Newman. And it's Monday, so we'll chat with Jeremy Conn about God knows what. That's what's going on here on a Monday edition of the program. We will also do the bulk of Picks Recap. We can't do the entirety of Picks Recap because there's still one more game to go. But so far, it's been a fruitful week for your boy, although there are only a couple of really bad weeks in there. Jeremy Conn having one of them. Really, really bad week, which means he'll tell us about how it was a good week for the public. And you know what? God bless it. May they all be good weeks for the public because it seems that I do well when the public does well.
Public was good last week, too. Public's going on a run.
Let's go public. Let's go and not Publix. That's a Jameis Winston thing. That's a different thing entirely. I don't want to get into all the games because we'll talk about them when we get the Picks Recap. The only game I'll take a minute to discuss will be the Cleveland game because we didn't include it in Picks. It's a complicated conversation. It is. It's a very complicated conversation because there's layer by layer of this. The first layer, no, I don't like when someone cheers someone getting hurt. There's nothing to like about that. It's grotesque. It is. The second layer, of course, being I don't like anyone cheering for Deshaun Watson ever. Because speaking of grotesque, he's a grotesque human being. The third layer is the problem is these people in Cleveland, they're not making – this is not some sort of moral high ground that they're taking. The folks in Cleveland, as we remember from Deshaun Watson's first game, had no problem rooting and cheering for Deshaun Watson. What they don't like is he's not good at football anymore. Like, this is the issue that you deal with when you have this conversation. The issue is this isn't about if what these people in Cleveland were saying was I'm cheering this man because he deserves it. He's a bad human being. Well, you still paid the money. You still chose to come out. You gave the franchise your American dollars to help pay for that man's salary, but still, okay, I'll listen. The problem being, I remember the way that you reacted when he first showed up, and there's been nothing new. It's not like you learned of his history after he signed. This is what makes the conversation complicated. In a way, I'm not going to choose to chastise Jameis Winston or Myles Garrett or any of the Browns' teammates because it can be complicated and you can understand. This is where empathy can enter into the picture even without sympathy. I can empathize with a group of people who say, look, man, this is our coworker, and right or wrong, we've gotten to know him, and that rubs us the wrong way. I can empathize with that. It doesn't make them right, but I can empathize with it. I can understand how when you're around somebody regularly, you might genuinely think you know them, and you don't like that. That makes it uncomfortable for you. But it also doesn't make you right. It doesn't mean that Browns fans are evil because of their response to Deshaun Watson. There are probably people in that group that are bad people. Quite a few of them. There are probably a lot of them, and this is what makes it, the minutia of this is very difficult. A lot of them were probably the same people that were dismissive of the allegations towards, not even allegations. I mean, he settled them. I guess we still say allegations because he didn't serve jail time. I don't know how this works, the legal system, when we say allegations and when we, obviously we're dealing with that with the former president too. Like, is it a legal thing versus a civil thing? And if it's a civil thing, then they were never convicted of a crime. I don't know how we handle this. It's for a smarter man than I. But they were aware of it. And if those same people that were cheering yesterday were also cheering for the first game for Deshaun Watson and are now trying to suggest that they're cheering because he's a bad person, then they're hypocritical assholes. But I can't go through and I don't know all of them one by one to figure out who's a hypocrite, who there might be somebody who from day one has said, I don't want this guy to be my quarterback. I'm not okay with it. Maybe that person exists. Again, not to the extent that they were willing to stop going to games, but maybe that person exists. There's a lot of hypocrisy involved with this. It's why I don't ever want a lot of you are trying to, or like there were a lot of you at the time who wanted the Ravens to pursue Antonio Brown. Now it's become more and more clear to you that Antonio Brown is a psychopath. But there was never any ambiguity about was that he admitted in a text to sexually assaulting a woman. And the presence of that text made it very clear to me, I never want this human being on my football team. Ever. Ever. I don't want to share anything in common with that human being. Some of you, cheer on his political beliefs. That's how twisted we are in this country. As long as a person agrees with our political takes, damn, who cares if they might have admitted to sexual assault? We're a lost people, man. But there was never any ambiguity there for me. I don't want that person on my football team. Ever. I don't ever want to be in a position where I have to think about whether or not I want to root for that person. Now, not everything is black and white. There are complications to everything. I've talked ad nauseum about how difficult it was the number of times I read some sort of allegation towards Terrell Suggs that was never backed up in court. It was tough, and I didn't like it. But there was no Terrell Suggs text admitting he did something. The moment there became that, no ambiguity, no gray area, no room for, well, maybe, no. And Deshaun Watson has brought that on himself. I don't have any sympathy towards Deshaun Watson, which doesn't mean that I root for a human being to suffer a devastating injury either. But I have no sympathy. And I can both empathize with his teammates who have to go to work with him every day and yet acknowledge that in the big picture, there is no moral high ground here. Jameis Winston is not right because he wants to be right. Myles Garrett isn't right because he wants to be right. There is no appropriate response to this particular human being. 9 times out of 10, if you cheered for a football player that got hurt, if you appreciated that injury because they're a bad football player, that makes you a bad person. But the Deshaun Watson thing absolutely complicates that. It is not that simplistic. But for a lot of people that were in that stadium and a lot of people that were booing, it is. Because they weren't reacting to bad person or serial abuser getting hurt. They were reacting to bad quarterback getting hurt. And there's no moral high ground for that. It doesn't exist. It doesn't make you in the right because you can hide behind, well, he's also a bad person. That didn't seem to be a problem for you before you knew he wasn't good at football. Thankfully, not our problem. Thankfully, that's the case. All right, Project Game Day returns tonight, immediately following Ravens Bucs. Wander over to PressBoxOnline.com/GameDay. Myself, Rita, Super Bowl 35 champion Femi and Badejo, as well as Stecca, KZ. The whole crew will be hanging out with you. PressBoxOnline.com/GameDay. Come hang with us tonight, immediately following the game. PressBoxOnline.com/GameDay. And speaking of game day, it is game day for the Ravens and Bucs. Let's find out a little bit more about the Ravens' opponent. Joining us now, he covers the Buccaneers for the Tampa Bay Times. He is Rick Stroud, and he is with us on GCR. Rick, it's Glenn in Baltimore. It's great to catch up, man. Thank you for taking a couple of minutes for us this morning.
Good morning, no problem.
Hey, Rick, I put it this way. The Buccaneers are obviously a very good football team. The Baker Mayfield part we can't be surprised by because we saw it a year ago. But how do you explain it? How do you explain the circumstances? How much of it is him? How much of it is coaching? How much of it is the roster around him? What has allowed for him to flourish in Tampa the way that he wasn't able to flourish in other locations?
Well, I mean, I think it's all of that, right? There's never one thing, but obviously, quarterbacks that are drafted number one overall go to bad teams, the worst team in the league. And, Baker, certainly had that problem in Cleveland. That was a team that was 1-32, I think, or something, 1-31 before he got there. He had a lot of head coaches, a lot of offensive coordinators, and he still managed to get them to a playoff and beat the Steelers in a playoff game his third year. But we all saw what happened. You get bounced around Carolina, put on waivers, and that Thursday night game that he had, I think it was in L.A., kind of rediscovered the fun of football. And so, he comes to the Bucs. It's a team that had talent. Obviously Tom Brady is a tough guy to replace, but Baker was sort of the right one to do it because he's authentic. He was younger. Certainly he knew this was his last best chance to remain as a starting quarterback. He accepted a challenge to compete with Kyle Trask. He won the job, and, he won over the locker room pretty quick. So I just think that, the guy has played very, very well. He's got good pieces around him. And even though he did some things well with Dave Canales, Liam Cohen is an upgrade, a big upgrade.
Wow.
And he knew Liam for a while with the Rams. They reunited, and now he has more answers at the line of scrimmage, more responsibility. And, he's just playing the best ball of his career right now. And he's a year into the program with guys like Mike Evans and Chris Godwin. Continuity is what wins in this league.
Yeah.
He's got his contract. All that is settled, but he's still always going to have the chip on his shoulder. So that's a long answer to what's been a long journey for Baker Mayfield.
It's a very thoughtful answer, and obviously what you just pointed out, it does not hurt to have those two dudes to throw the football to. That's a pretty good starting point. How does Mike Evans continue to defy the logic that receivers shouldn't be able to be this good this deep into their career?
Yeah, well, it's interesting. Mike has kind of evolved over the years. When he got to the league, he was probably an overweight kid, about 238, 240. Got a lot of hamstring injuries. He's battling one right now. But, he's always been somebody that in a position where, you have a lot of guys that are me guys he always just wanted to win, and he lost his first 7 years, didn't sniff the playoffs, but he was putting up 1,000 yards a year with a whole bunch of quarterbacks that you and I wouldn't really recommend for your career. So, the most time he spent was with Jameis, the 5 seasons. But, Mike has just done it the right way. And I think Tom Brady had a big influence on him, while he was here, because I think that's when Mike realized that he had gotten a second contract at that point. And Brady convinced him, hey, what if you ate right? What if you kept yourself in better shape? What if you could get a third contract? What could you do with that? How many people could you help? Because Mike, has a great foundation down here. And he's just done everything right, and he's a great leader. He wants to win. He's so competitive. And he's an outstanding athlete. I think people, underestimate his speed. I think they underestimate his ability to go up and high point the ball. But he's been a rock for them for 10 years now.
He is Rick Stroud of the Tampa Bay Times. He's with us here on GCR. Rick, in the backfield, I know from a fantasy perspective, there's a lot of interest in how they'll continue to split things up between White and Irving and Tucker. There's another perspective here in Baltimore, obviously, with Sean Tucker being a native son, pride of Calvert Hall, and someone that we've gotten to know a little bit over the years and is a really likable guy. After that game that he had last week, and I recognize that a lot of that occurred in a blowout, but is there the possibility of seeing more of a split or seeing more of a role for Baltimore's own Sean Tucker moving forward?
Well, I think there has to be. Him and Bucky Irving were terrific in that game, and quite frankly, I'm surprised that they're even talking about, a bigger, a role for all three of them. I mean, Rachaad White certainly has been here for a couple of years, but he's averaged 3.7 a carry for his career, 3.7 this year. They can all do different things. But after watching them, do what they did last week, especially with Sean, it just, I don't know why you just don't go with the Buck and Tuck show again. I mean, it doesn't make any sense. It defies logic. They plan to play all of them, give them each a series, and then kind of go with a hot hand. I think you might be throwing away a possession that way. But that's what they're going to do. And at least they say that's what they're going to do. Even though Liam Cohen said earlier this year, it's a headache for an offensive coordinator to try to get three guys going. But yeah, I mean, Sean Tucker's a great story. And look, he would have been drafted. He had a terrific career at Syracuse, obviously, way high in the, career rushing numbers up there. And he got flagged at the combine with a heart condition. The Bucs took a flyer on him basically as an undrafted free agent, and he didn't get to do much in the offseason his rookie year. Got behind that way, I think, and then when he was finally cleared to play, didn't have early success, and they just didn't give him many opportunities as in his rookie season. Now he's had an off season. He's completely dialed into this offense, and you see the natural ability. I mean, I've always said that, if at the running back position in particular, if you're special, it shows up right away. And it showed up right away when Sean Tucker got 14 carries the other day and had almost 200 yards of total offense. So I think it would be malpractice if they don't go back to him and Bucky Irving and let them carry the load. It's going to be really hard to run against the Ravens. Everybody has trouble doing it. But I would try to do it with those two guys and run it back with what they did against New Orleans.
I tend to agree with you. Those two, and look, I acknowledge I don't watch nearly as much Buccaneers football as you do, but those two do seem to be a bit more dynamic than Rachaad White is and what they present skill set wise. Speaking of local guys, we had the chance last Friday to catch up with Chris Braswell. A very different story, right? Unlike Sean Tucker, he went very early in the draft. He acknowledged there were a few kind of rookie moments for him early on, but I know he got his first half sack in the last game, and the win rate was a lot better. How does it appear as though Chris Braswell is turning the corner to be impactful as a rookie?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, they're not down on him at all, and I think every game, each week you see him getting better in this defense, and we saw that last year with Yaya Diaby. Yaya Diaby wasn't starting until after halfway through the season. He wound up leading them with 7.5 sacks on the year. And I think Chris Braswell, once he gets comfortable in this defense, and let's be honest, I don't care where you played at Alabama or anyplace else, it's an adjustment. You're playing against grown men that are game planning against you. You got a lot of responsibilities at outside linebacker and coverage, a lot of different calls. You're not just putting your hand in the ground and trying to get the quarterback every play. And so, I think Chris has really started to flash a little bit. And the more he does, the more play time he'll get. But this will be a challenge for those outside linebackers tonight because, with Lamar, with the run game, Derrick Henry, you can't get too far upfield. They made that adjustment, last week, I think, in Atlanta early in the game. I think they were allowing the quarterback to get outside the pocket with the bootlegs and the waggles and things like that. And they kind of shut that down and kept them contained in the middle of the field. But I think Chris Braswell has a bright future here. And I think he's going to emerge eventually as their starting outside linebacker.
Rick, if I could, let's talk a little bit more about that defense, because we know there are quality players all over that side of the ball. The numbers don't, and it's maybe kind of similar to what's going on in Baltimore, right, where the numbers, I feel like, have to be a bit deceptive, but you can tell me, is this defense better than some of the numbers suggest that it is?
Well, I think it is when they have their players. I think they've played a lot of the season this year already without Antoine Winfield Jr., who's maybe their best player on the team on defense for sure. He affects so much of what they do, not just on the back end. He can also rush the passer. He's got a ton of sacks in his career, and is a good, good run player. But more than that, it's the communication between him and Jordan Whitehead on the back end. That's what's really allowed them to thrive. And then, they've got, like I said, some of their pieces back. Vita Vea is a huge part of this defense.
Question.
He's just unblockable. You need two guys to try to contain him in the middle. He pushes the pocket. He forces the quarterback from being able to step up and run and or throw the football. They just have so many guys now that are coming back healthy that I think early in the year was a little deceptive. But they've got some holes too. They're slower at inside linebacker than they have been with KJ Britt right now. Levante David's still making splash plays at 34, but he's not the same Levante David. So they're missing a corner in Jamel Dean. So still some injuries, not a complete defense, but Todd Bowles dials it up pretty good. And when they're healthy, they're pretty good.
All right, so I feel like it's an unfair way to ask it because the Buccaneers are a good football team and they're playing at home, but yet the Vegas folks, they think they're the underdogs going in the night. So I'll ask it this way: if the Buccaneers are going to beat the Ravens this evening, what's the roadmap to you, Rick? What does this game need to look like for them to be able to do it?
Well, they've got to dominate on offense. They've got to keep the Ravens off the field. They got to make some plays in the passing game for sure, but they have to run it. You can't completely abandon the run. You don't want to be sitting here, 2nd and 9, behind the sticks, 3rd and 10. That's a recipe for disaster against this football team. So, they need to go out and get Baker Mayfield in a rhythm early. And protect the football. And this is an offense that has shown, really some signs of life of being able to do both. They can play you any way you want to. You want to play cover 2, they've been successful running it. That'll be a challenge tonight. If you want to play single high and some man coverage, they'll throw the football over your head. So, and Baker's created some plays with his feet as well. So it's really about can the offense help that defense contain the Baltimore Ravens and get ahead so that you can hopefully make them at some point tonight one-dimensional. That's really going to be the key for the Bucs.
And I guess lastly, the emotions, everything that area has been through, and I know that the Buccaneers did a great job of getting the players and their families out, and I sensed in talking to some friends down there that it was appreciated. Just watching a football game as they were cleaning up meant a lot. What do you expect the emotions to be like for everybody at the stadium tonight?
Yeah, I think it's going to be a special night. It always is when you have Monday Night Football. But having lived through that Cat 3 hurricane, which we were fortunate in Tampa Bay, it went a little south as far as the eye of it. But they've been devastated on the coast. The beaches have been wiped out in many regards. From Helena, from this one back to back. We have players that are living in condos now whose homes have been destroyed. John Spytek, the assistant general manager, has lost his. So, there's a lot of people hurting in the organization, but everybody feels fortunate there wasn't a greater loss of life. And of course, it's always great to be able to get together again. And I know the Glazers have donated $2 million to the effort. So have, the Tampa Bay Lightning, the Rays, and sports is a great unifier. So I think this will be an emotional night. And, whether that translates to the field or not, I don't know. But I know everybody's looking forward to getting together and cheering on their Bucs, I suppose.
Well, we certainly are thinking of everybody down there. That's been everything that you guys have been through. I know it has been a very, very difficult month. At NFL Stroud is how you follow Rick. And Rick, can you want to plug the podcast as well?
Yeah, it's a weekly podcast. We're on Monday through Friday at Sports Day Tampa Bay. We talk about all Tampa Bay sports, not just the Bucs. Obviously, during football season, it's maybe a little more Bucs-centric, and it will be tomorrow as we try to do that at about 2:30 in the morning. But appreciate the plug. And if you have a chance as well, I'd like to mention that I've written a book with Tom Moore. It's Tom Moore's book.
Yeah.
Called The Player's Coach. And I tell you what, Tom is still coaching. He's 85 years young, still playing an important role in this organization. You think about the players he's had with Bradshaw and Manning and Brady and everybody else. He's an exceptional storyteller. He talked, I typed, but you'll enjoy it.
That's truly a character, a 4-time Super Bowl champion. It's absolutely worth the time. Pick that up. Rick, thank you for taking the time for us this morning. We really appreciate it. Let's talk again soon, all right?
Will do. Thank you.
Rick Stroud covers the Buccaneers for the Tampa Bay Times, getting us ready for Ravens-Buccaneers this evening. Griffin, what's going on at Live Casino and Hotel these days?
Every time that Baltimore or Washington's football teams are home this season and they score touchdowns.
And there were a few of those yesterday.
There were quite a few for Washington yesterday. And if you were at Live Casino, then you were enjoying $7 in free slot play for every one of those touchdowns. For Live Rewards members who have their Live Rewards card inserted into the slot machine, any slot machine on the floor, you have to be actively playing as well in order to get your prize. But once that touchdown scores, $7 in free slot play every time Baltimore-Washington scores a touchdown during home games. Adderall Mills must be 21. Please play responsibly. For help, visit mdgamblinghelp.org or call 1-800-GAMBLER.
And they are home again this Sunday for that game against the Bears that we're hoping will be the Caleb Williams, Jaden Daniels showdown that got that game into the 425 national window over the Chiefs game for a change, which is nice.
Apparently Marcus Mariota's pretty good, though. So
well, yeah, he certainly looked good yesterday against the Panthers. Yeah, I don't know what to make of it exactly. We'll find out. I hope we won't find out. I hope it'll be Jaden Daniels again. But, the Ravens play at 1, so maybe you wander down afterwards and you got a chance to get some free slot play. It seems like a decent way to spend your Sunday. When we come back in, we will go over the week that was in picks. For some folks, it was a very good week. For Jeremy Conn, not as much. We'll talk about it next. Glenn Clark Radio.
Treat yourself and taste the Baltimore tradition that is the legendary Costas Inn. Hey, it's Stan the Fan Charles. For over 50 years, the Costas Inn has been a Baltimore original, dishing out their legendary fat, delicious, award-winning crab cakes and steamed crabs. It's crab season, so sit back and crack some crabs while watching the Birds pursue another divisional title on Costas' 15 TVs. On Monday night, the Costas Inn offers their half-pound jumbo lump crab cake with 2 sides for under $30. So head on down to the Costas Inn today at 4100 North Point Boulevard or visit them at CostasInn.com.
Make the most out of every day in your Toyota RAV4. Available in hybrid or gas-only models. A RAV4 can get you where you want to go in style. Check out buyatoyota.com for deals on new RAV4s from your local Toyota dealer today.
The drug scene in Maryland is changing. Fentanyl and xylazine are being added to street drugs, and you may not even know it. Xylazine is not even intended for humans, and fentanyl is an opioid 50 times stronger than heroin and contributed to over 80% of overdose deaths in our state. Anyone who uses drugs, even occasionally, is at risk of overdose. To learn more, visit stopoverdose.maryland.gov or call or text 988.
The votes were all counted, and the results are official. Royal Farms was named #1 for food in the USA Today 10 Best poll, receiving more votes than any other convenience store chain in America. The next time you want to get some good food fast, doesn't it make sense to go to Royal Farms? Voted best in the USA and home of world-famous chicken. Real fresh, real fast, Royal Farms.
The latest edition of Press Box is available now. On the cover, Brooks Dubose profiles Maryland basketball forwards Derek Queen and Julian Reese as the Baltimore-built duo reunites in College Park with hopes of bringing the Terps back to prominence. Also inside, meet college basketball players from all of the area's D1 programs. Press Box is available for free at over 500 locations throughout the region, including 60 Royal Farm stores, where you can read the entire issue online at PressBoxOnline.com, where you can also find great betting advice and the best daily coverage of the Orioles, Ravens, and Terps.
Need a trophy or award that's as unique as the achievement? Look no further than Crown Trophy. With locations in Owings Mills and Gaithersburg, they specialize in custom trophies, plaques, and medals for any occasion. From sports and academic awards to employee recognition and corporate gifts, visit crowntrophy.com today and let them help you create a lasting memory for your school, team, or business. Crown Trophy is a proud supporter of the Maryland Public Secondary Schools Athletic Association. crowntrophy.com.
One of the things that's definitely wrong with this country is that this dude still has a job somehow, some way. Glenn Clark.
All right, back in here on GCR as we continue along on a Monday edition of the program. Let's go over picks, at least the majority of the picks. Obviously, there's one more game because the Ravens game is still to be determined, but it was a fruitful week for a few of us over the course of the weekend. I'm really bummed out that I look up and I'm 6-2 for the week, and I'm still tied for last place.
Well, at least you're tied, though.
Way closer to 500 than I was a couple of weeks ago, though. Dramatically closer to 500 after the last 2 weeks.
Up over 500.
Oh, look at you. Yeah. 35 and 33.
Maybe I know what I'm talking about.
Well, let's not just go saying things. Let's not do that. All right, Navy had no problems whatsoever against Charlotte, forced 5 turnovers. Deshaun Peel, who had 2 pick sixes in the game, will join us on GCR on Wednesday as they get ready for Notre Dame. Massive showdown this week. That'll be wild. John from Little Rock pointed out that the 3 teams ranked 23 to 25 this week are Army, Navy, and Vanderbilt, which is probably not a sentence that has ever been said before, that those 3 teams were in the rankings altogether. Yeah, right. That is uncommon. Only Jeremy Conn, betting against the public, rode with Charlotte for that game. Everybody else, good Americans on Navy. Now, ironically, I did get a text from Ken Zales on Saturday after the final USC drive came up. Boy, I don't know. There's a lot that I could say about that. And he said, thanks. Thanks for not having us pick the Maryland game. Because it would have been a loss for old KZ picking against Maryland. And maybe that's part of the reason why I don't want to pick Maryland games, is I just want to avoid these feelings.
Having to feel anything during.
I don't want to feel it. I just want to be able to
blindly
to root for the home team. Yeah, that was a really good win. And you guys want to make fun of Maryland students for rushing the field.
I have.
What's that?
Yeah.
Did you? Oh, because did your sister do it?
No, she actually didn't.
Oh, she didn't?
Because she left.
Oh, because they were down by 2 scores?
I guess so.
Before the field goal attempt?
I'm not sure when. I think it was around halftime, though, when she left.
Oh,
so.
She didn't even make it to the second half.
Yeah.
That is.
Yeah, it is.
That's bad. That's bad.
She's in midseason form for sure.
Yeah, you got to address that with her. You got to have the way that Femi tries to coach you up, you're going to need to sort of take those lessons and pass them along to your sister.
I guess I should have asked her. Would she? She said though once I said, "Oh my God, do you see what's happening?"
Oh really?
Yeah, and she was like, "Oh,
yeah, way to go.
That's not good.
Way to go, leaving the game like a doofus." Anyway, yes, great win for Maryland. Let's be honest, this is not a powerhouse USC team. We have learned that in the last couple of weeks. Still,
barely even a house of.
Yeah. Right. Still. It is definitely not a game any of us expected Maryland to win, and it speaks to the absurdity. I mean, this is just – it's not unique to us, but the thing where you just want to fire the coach every time a team loses a game is boring. It starts with it being embarrassing. It's pathetic. Like I understand that Twitter has made it so that we feel like we have to say something about everything. We don't. Sometimes you can just say nothing. Maryland's not going to be in the college football playoff. they still have a difficult path to bowl eligibility. Like, it is still not easy because there just aren't layups in the Big Ten. There aren't games that you just look at and say, well, they'll just win that game. We thought that was a Northwestern game. Instead, they kind of trade that off with the USC game that none of us thought they were going to win. The thing that remains true is the difficulty of these West Coast teams coming east. This wasn't even a noon game. Like, this was a 4 o'clock game. That insane travel does, I think, I don't know that you can prove it, but I think there's no doubt that the insane travel is having an impact, particularly on the West Coast teams coming east. But it hasn't been easy.
Especially because they have to do it multiple times.
Right. Right. They have to do it, then go back, then do it. And I get it. I can't even imagine what it's like for these soccer teams. I haven't even looked to see. Like, I noticed that tonight Maryland's playing UCLA in soccer. I wonder if that's because they tried to do a bit with UCLA where they came and played a game on Thursday or something like that at Penn State. And I don't know how they're doing that in the non-rev sports to try to mitigate it, but there has to be an impact. It's crazy to me. Still, really good win for Maryland and gets them back in the conversation to be able to get bowl eligible after they looked like they were going to have no chance. It's a really, really good win, and it comes in truly miraculous fashion. And that is a what?
Just the UCLA soccer team, they were at Rutgers on Friday.
Hey, there you go. Yeah. That's the answer. They're trying to so that you make one trip.
They also had a trip. They did at Northwestern and at Wisconsin in the same little 4-day weekend.
That's what they're doing, and they're doing what they can to try to mitigate that. I don't know if that's easy. That's a quick turnaround for games. Although teams do play Tuesday. They play a midweek game. They might play Tuesday, Saturday, or Tuesday, Friday. So it's not insane trying to do it that way, but that's what they're doing to try to mitigate it. It's a good win. I keep coming back to that. Good win, truly miraculous win, because when USC lined up for that field goal, the game was over. I mean, it was over. Plain and simple. That game was over at that point. It was going to be a 2-score game with 1 minute and 50 seconds left. It required a miracle, but they got it, and then they took advantage of it. That's the other important part, too. I've watched enough Maryland football to not have felt comfortable even after the block kick. They got that, but the history of Maryland football says they're probably going to figure out a way to still screw it up. And particularly because they scored with so much time left.
Right, yeah.
And then they didn't get the 2-point conversion. You're like, oh, no. Oh, no. And then, of course, USC is on the edge of field goal range. They convert on 4th down. They're in field goal range. And they're winning. It took a really tremendous set of circumstances, but that's what it takes, and Maryland got it.
And being an entertaining football game.
Yes, 100%. All right, Alabama, not able to get the job done.
Didn't realize Jalen Milroe was, bad, I guess? Is that?
I don't think that's not fair.
Did not look good.
Didn't look great, I agree with that. Although he's one of just 2 quarterbacks in all of college football with double-digit rushing and passing touchdowns this season. You know who the other one is?
Would that be Blake Horvath?
Blake Horvath, of course. Blake Horvath is the other one. So Alabama does not cover as they didn't even win outright at Tennessee. On Tennessee for that one, James Revere, John and Little Rock, Gonzalez, Kyle Ottenheimer, Ryan Shell, they all get that point. Texas, Georgia. It wasn't. I don't want to. It's unfair to say it's hammer and nail because it suggests that it was a non-competitive game, but Georgia was clearly the better team, and I don't. There's about a lot of controversy because apparently there were a couple of voters that voted Georgia number 1 over undefeated Oregon, undefeated Penn State. I'm not as worked up about that as other people are. I get it.
Oregon should definitely.
I think that they should be number 1, but if the argument,
I can see Georgia getting votes over Penn State for sure.
Well, I would definitely put them over Penn State, and I think they did. The Georgia's number 2, right? Aren't they? I think they're number 2 in the new poll.
I saw it was the 22 to 24 or 25 spots.
Yeah, correct. Those are the only spots that you cared about. I guess my thought would be that I don't. If what you're saying is, ask me right now who I think the favorite is to win the national championship, and I think it's
favorite?
Georgia, And so if that's why a voter decided to put Georgia at number 1, I get it. They look like that team. So clearly Texas didn't cover because they didn't even win outright. On Georgia, myself, Griffin, and Joe Serpico. Wow, it was just the 3 of us.
Go Dogs.
Georgia was getting 5 points, and we were the only ones on Georgia. That's crazy. Seattle, Atlanta. It looked like the classic West Coast team coming east at 1 o'clock. There's just no way. And early on, nope. This ended up being a bit of a bloodbath. Seattle rolls in Atlanta. On the Seahawks, Andrew Stetka, Griffin, Jeremy Conn, and John in Little Rock. A statement cover from the Houston Texans. God, I love when you start doing the math in these wonky games, and you're like, it doesn't matter. I had that moment. I'm like, when the Texans,
because it was 20
had the ball.
What was the final score? It was 21-20, or no.
It was a 2-point game. What was the final? Hang on a second.
The final was 24-22?
Yes, that sounds right.
Okay, so it was 22-21 with the Texans.
It was 22-21. But before that, again, it was 21-19. It was 21-19 game.
Right.
And with the Texans having the ball, all of a sudden I have this moment. I'm like, I've got to cover. Nothing matters. If the Texans score a touchdown, either they win or the Packers go down and score a touchdown, and they stay within 2. We're good. Or if they kick a field goal, again, either they get a stop and they win, or the Packers go down and score because I'm good. It's a great moment of clarity to have. We're like, I don't have to worry about anything the rest of the way. It would take something truly bizarre for me to not get my cover at this point. Blessings be. Blessings to Allah. And that was exactly the case. It was exactly the case. The Texans settle for a field goal. I think I thought both teams, I had no idea what either team was doing. This was bizarre-esque, man. The Packers sort of, with a new kicker, they're like laissez-faire, like, well, we're kind of on the edge of field goal range. We don't really need to push it. The Texans holding 3 timeouts. Look, I think D'Amico Ryans is a good coach, right? I do. But again, the way you guys
used one of them.
They used one of them. The way you guys want John Harbaugh fired every week, when you are not watching every other coach in football.
He wanted his field goal block team to go win it.
The Texans held 3 timeouts at a point in which if you start taking the timeouts, the Packers are now in a difficult spot. They probably have to run the ball because what they can't do is let the Texans get the ball back with timeouts. They can't have an incomplete pass. So they almost certainly have to run the ball. Let them do that 3 times. Call your 3 timeouts. If they miss the kick, all's good. But if they make the kick, unbelievable, you'd still have 25 seconds to try to go win the game. The F is going on? It's insanity. Now, again, doesn't matter to me. I got my cover. I don't have to worry about a damn thing. Doesn't affect me whatsoever. But it is hilarious when everybody starts screaming about Ravens coaching decisions, and then who was it that came on here? Who was the analytics person we talked to?
It wasn't Aaron Schatz.
It wasn't.
I think it was Seth Walder.
I think it was Seth Walder who was going on about.
It was like, also watch any football game.
No, but he said he thought the Ravens were amongst the best in-game coaches. And everybody's like, dude, what? Are you on drugs? Like, what are you talking about? And I get it, because I watch enough football to know he's probably right. If you watch any football at all, you watch the Texans just say, timeouts. Trying to get the ball back. What?
Had to make sure they make sure they could ice the kicker.
Yeah, we got to make sure we ice the kicker.
Did you like the Packers uniforms?
No, they were awful.
I hated them. So.
I saw
maybe if they wore them in like if it was Sunday Night Football in December, you can see their breath.
Or in the contrast of the black versus the something along those lines.
But
I saw everybody's favorite Barstool Big Cat make a comment like, "Dude, I hate the Packers, but like their color scheme is part of the foundation of football.
Yeah.
Like it's part of what we know about the sport is green and yellow." probably right.
Yeah.
Like, he's probably right about that.
They're pretty solid.
Look, man, I hate the Steelers, but if they showed up wearing an all-white uniform, I'd be like, dude, what are you doing? Like, what is this?
I think I've definitely done that, man, where they had those yellow helmets at one, like,
the Bumblebee uniforms are the dumbest things that have ever existed in football. Those were the worst-looking uniforms ever. Anyway, on Houston, sorry, we can go the other way because there weren't that many teams on folks on Green Bay. Griffin was on Green Bay. James was on Green Bay. Ken Zales and Paul Valley were on Green Bay. Everybody else got the point. Detroit getting points on the road. Early on, it did not look good, man. Early on, Minnesota jumped out to a big lead. And
I started puffing my cigar.
Yeah, you were feeling good about that. Yeah, that game flipped on a dime. And then nearly flipped back. The Lions trying to ice the game away on the ground. David Montgomery is just like, why don't you have the ball? And then even after the Vikings score the touchdown to go ahead, the Lions then go 3 and out with like 4 minutes left. And you're just, oh, boy. Oh, boy. I guess it's not happening. But, actually, I think we still would have had a cover, right? Because
yeah, I know. I think it was one of those math. Math was in your favor.
I think it was still in our favor even after that point. But the Lions went ahead and made sure they didn't have to worry about that. They got the ball back, and they got downfield, and they perfectly played the clock to kick the field goal with like 10 seconds left. So, although the Vikings, did you watch the end of that?
I mean, like,
very,
like, obviously
very smart. They weren't going to be able to get into field goal range, but they got set and committed a formation penalty so that even before the spike, they made sure they still had 1 second left to try to throw a Hail Mary at the end of the game.
All right, so there you go. Kevin O'Connell, John Harbaugh.
Yeah, right. Which, in fairness, they didn't even get off because the Lions said, we're not dropping back. We're not doing the bit where we only have 3 down linemen. Like, we're bringing pressure, and they sacked Sam Darnold on the Hail Mary attempt. On Minnesota, there were only 3 of us on Minnesota. KZ, Griffin, and Jeremy Conn were on Minnesota. Kansas City, dogs on the road. Why? Now, we didn't know that Deebo Samuel was going to be out. That certainly didn't make life any easier. And the hits
Why was Demario Douglas not reported before the game either? That was...
I got to be honest with you, I do not pay nearly enough attention to the
I had to start
Patriots
Demario Douglas in a game, so that's why...
Oof. And that would have been at, 8 in the morning that you would have gotten that information?
And I would have been awake to do something about it.
Yeah, well, sorry.
Because I would have definitely started Calvin Ridley over him, which would have I don't think it would have netted me any more.
Yes, I was going to say. So the Deebo Samuel thing is bad. Obviously, the hits keep coming for the 49ers. Brandon Ayuk out for the season. They did get Ricky Pearsall back. Remember last week when I asked you guys if Ricky Pearsall was playing, and you're like, no, and then he played. Maybe next time you say, I don't know. Maybe we just go with that.
I don't know if I said.
That was when I brought that question up to you and Zales, it sounded like this. No! Oh, sorry I asked.
No.
I thought I saw you.
Maybe
on the
KZ. I probably said, probably not.
I don't think
he was carrying a Q along his name, but it was
I would say we go back and check the audio, but I need you to work on this. That's your project today. We're not checking the audio. What are we doing? Anyway, the moral of the story is Kansas City rolls. Most of us were on KC. On San Francisco, Jeremy Conn, John Proctor, Kyle Ottenheimer, and Paul Valley. The easiest money of the week was Mike Tomlin as a home underdog. Easy money. It does not matter who the quarterback was. This is an awkward situation too. I don't think Russell Wilson is cheeks. I think that because everything always kind of defaults to that when there's Twitter discourse about a topic, that if you seem to side with anything that's similar, like my take on the Steelers quarterback situation is far more nuanced than that. I don't think Russell Wilson stinks. I think that what you saw of Russell Wilson last night is kind of what Russell Wilson is. It's basically the exact same as what Sean Payton was doing with him in Denver. Underneath and moonballs. That's what he did. Now, last night, that worked for the Steelers. In conspiracy with a lot of things. In conspiracy with the Jets stink.
Yeah, they're not.
They stink. But they were also down to like their 4th and 5th corners during the course of the game. On top of the injuries they already had, and they lost Sauce Gardner during the game. And There was a modicum of luck. Modicum, I would say. It's more than a modicum. Ball bouncing off somebody's helmet to George Pickens.
Well, that's what happens when you target George Pickens.
Yes.
So you're taking luck out of it when you throw to George Pickens.
Yeah, it's exactly what it is. The first one he absolutely pushed off on, and nobody bothered. The first,
like the far side, the one on the far
the
side?
one on the left. The one on the left. When nothing was going their way.
Off?
Oh my God, it was a push off. It was an obvious push
Well, it
off.
looked like they were both just kind of going at it.
Yeah, they were going at it, and then he pushed off. Like, that's how he created the separation, which is all well and good. Like, you get away with it. That's the other thing that I would say. Part of that works. It's part of the reason why you throw moon balls, why you throw deep balls in general, is because sometimes you get PIs. Sometimes you get away with one. Sometimes the cornerback just can't find the ball and looks lost. It's the value of the deep ball. It's why you do throw deep balls, because in general, it's a low percentage play. But the percentages are raised because, one, it's difficult to play defense in the NFL, and two, inherently the receiver has the advantage over a cornerback in that situation. But that's what it was. It was underneath and moon balls, which is exactly what he was doing in Denver. And charitably, you would say, well, maybe that's just the week one concept for Pittsburgh. And as the season goes on, they will incorporate more intermediate things, and he'll throw more to the middle of the field. Charitably, you would say that. The evidence would suggest that now in multiple places they recognize that Russell Wilson, at this point in his career, offers you underneath and moon balls. It's why I don't fear Russell Wilson as the quarterback of the Pittsburgh Steelers. I think you can have some success doing that. Again, particularly with good fortune and conspiracy. You can have success. But do you think you're beating the best quarterbacks in football when that is what your quarterback is giving you the option for? My fear with the Pittsburgh Steelers was that, similar to Lamar Jackson's ascent, Justin Fields would keep playing and would keep growing as a passer. And if he did keep growing as a passer, matched with his ability as a runner, then they became lethal. They can't become lethal with Russell Wilson at this point in his career. To say it's a better offense, it had better results.
It was a more like
somebody tried. One of my buddies,
like safer offense. Like he wasn't turning the ball over.
Yeah, there was that, right?
He was protecting the football.
I mean, some of that was good luck too, right? Yeah. Like you throw moon balls like that, it's not gonna always go your way. Some of those are gonna go the other way, depending on who you play. And he can still put some arc on a moon ball, man. Like it's hard to explain. It's not his incredible arm strength that like he can really he puts that ball up there and it hangs. If you want to say Russell Wilson is a better week-to-week option for the Pittsburgh Steelers than Justin Fields at the moment, I could listen to the argument. But it's like in one scenario, you're going for is the higher floor, not the higher ceiling. It's one scenario is your floor is a 4, your ceiling's a 10. In the other scenario, your floor is a 6, your ceiling's a 7.
That's a pretty fair analogy. Yeah.
That's what they're choosing with Russell Wilson. It's a higher floor, but it's a lower ceiling. And by the way, I went back and looked at the Justin Fields game against the Colts. It looked pretty dramatically similar to last night's game from Russell Wilson, with the one exception being the play action, which led to most of the moon balls.
Colts defense sucks too, but
yes, that's true. And they still lost that game for what it's worth.
Yeah.
The Steelers. Yeah. Look, man.
Well, also you got to factor in Flacco. So
right there.
They were never going to win that game.
Well, and last night you got to factor in that this is the eternal Pittsburgh thing. Like this looked like every other Pittsburgh game.
Yeah.
Here,
I believe I have his number.
Do you? Okay, yeah, if you don't mind calling him, because apparently there might be something going on with I don't know what's going on with our guest is trying to call and not getting through, so we're going to try it. Anyway, I watching that game confirmed for me that those two teams are not threats to actually win anything, but I am absolutely still in fear of the Ravens losing to the Steelers, 1,000%. On the Jets for that one, Andrew Steck, James Revere, Jeremy Conn, Joe Serpico, and Paul Valley. So for the week, high watermark, John in Little Rock, 7-1 so far, still with one game obviously pending this evening, and John's on Tampa for that one. 6-2, Ryan Chell and myself were 6-2. 5-3, Kyle Ottenheimer, Griffin, as well as Andrew Steck and Joe Serpico. John Proctor, Ken Zales, James Revere went 4-4. Not as good for Paul Valley and Jeremy Conn, who both went 2-6. Atop the table, Ryan Chell, one game clear of John in Little Rock going into tonight. At the bottom of the table, now 5 of us all tied at 32 and 36. Jeremy, Proctor, Steck, Joe Serpico, and myself, one game behind Paul Valley at the bottom of the table. So things bunching back up a bit. What?
Okay, so Stecca and Joe are both on Tampa.
Yes, so there will be a smaller group. It'll either be 3 of us at the bottom of the table or 2 of us at the bottom of the table. Well, I would not be part of the us if it's the 2 of them. Either 3 of us or 2 of them at the bottom of the table after tonight's game. That's our picks recap of the week. All right, we're into the 11 a.m. hour here on GCR. I had the opportunity yesterday to get up to Cecil County, head out to Fair Hill to check out the final day of the Maryland 5-Star. My God, the weather was spectacular. Great crowds, awesome atmosphere. Joining us now, the president and CEO of the Maryland 5-Star. He is our friend Jeff Newman, and he's back with us now here on GCR. Jeff, it's Glenn. It's always good to chat with you. Thank you for taking the time for us, and congratulations on an incredible weekend.
Yeah, thanks for having me on. It was a great weekend here in Cecil County, and really just great for the state of Maryland and showcasing the equestrian community. And you certainly hope you get lucky with weather, and we sure did.
No doubt about it. It was beautiful. Jeff, if you had to pinpoint one area of growth for the Maryland 5-Star that you were most proud of this year, as you guys are still in the relative infancy of the event, what was the area of growth that you were most proud of?
Well, I feel that there's a lot of people now that actually know about the event. They know of the event. The first few years, just creating awareness of what eventing is, where is Fair Hill. But I do believe that, if you ask most people now, at least in the state of Maryland, they've heard of the event. And that's a huge stride that we were hoping to make, this year with a lot of promotion, with the help of you all at Press Box and others, really getting the word out about this is a special event here for Maryland. And I think the word's getting out. So I would say that's really the most, I guess one of those elements you're most proud of is that, we're starting to become a household name.
And what really jumped out at me yesterday, Jeff, is the 5-star competition, the jumping, didn't begin until 3 o'clock yesterday. And yet I arrived at like 10 a.m., and the place was already packed. I mean, packed 5 hours before the actual main event was even beginning, which I think spoke to me to how many people have just decided this is part of our fall now. This is what we do, is we spend our day here. We're invested in not just the competition, but those things we talked about, the atmosphere, the shopping, the festival nature of it. Like, that really was eye-opening to me when I got there that early yesterday.
Yeah, so we want the event to be a family event that people can come out to, obviously, and do more than just watch equestrian. So we had our Fresh Food Fest. The Maryland Corgi Cup has taken off on its own. Yeah. It's incredible. And obviously the shopping speaks for itself. But, we also have the 3-star level competition that we, feature in the morning. So having the 2 levels of competition with the 3-star and the 5-star really gives you a full day, really get your money's worth. And so, that's what we hope. People will come out early, enjoy everything and all the festivities, and then see some world-class eventers in our 5-star level in the afternoon.
Jeff, speaking of that event, I did not realize, so going into yesterday, there were only 8 competitors remaining in the actual 5-star. And when we use, like, the term like endurance test, like, this really proved to be the case this weekend. Like, it really was an endurance test. I know this was an emotional weekend because it was the final year for the course designer. Can you tell us a little bit about that and how intense Saturday was, and why maybe, again, for folks that haven't been out or haven't been out for Saturday in future years, they need to make it a priority to get there for Saturday?
Well, that's what makes it so neat, the sport of eventing. As we talked about previously, it originated as a cavalry test to get horses and riders ready for battle. And so, you could tell the difference in the, between a 5-star and a 3-star level. So we started out with, 55 entries in our 3-star. And yesterday, I think there was approximately about 43 that made it to show jumping. Whereas in the 5-star, we started out with 24 entries and end up at 8. So It just shows the enormous level of difficulty once you get to the 5-star level. And cross country really is the part on Saturday that separates sort of the men from the boys, so to speak, because, it's a tough course. It was Ian Stark, our course designers last year. But, at the end of the day, that's what it comes down to is who can get to the last stage. And so that attrition is just part of the sport and, something that makes it so unique for us. And so, yes, that's why we encourage people to see the event early for dressage, for cross country, because that's how you see all the competitors and all the combinations, because Sunday is the day of attrition.
He is Jeff Newman. Of course, the Maryland 5-star was this weekend out at Fair Hill. Jeff, your champion ends up being an Olympic gold medalist, and I feel like that's, again, for the attention for the sport, it had to be great that Oliver was not only here, but in contention going into Sunday.
Well, Oliver was one of the first athletes when we started this back in 2021 to step up and say, I want to come to Maryland, I want to support the event. And each year he's come back and, he placed second the first year and then third the last couple. So, personally, we can't root for individual competitors, but deep down I was rooting for him because he's been a great supporter of the event. He's been a world number one. He's won, I think now it's either 8 or 9 now 5-stars. So his resume is incredible. And to have him, win the event as an international rider coming, to Maryland, it's exactly what we hope for. And he's a class act.
It was really, really cool and an amazing thing to see. And I heard this a little bit from different competitors this weekend. You reference folks that have stepped up. Not only the embrace from this area and the crowds, being even bigger, but it sounded like for the athletes themselves, there has been more and more of a response of, okay, it's official. Like, this is – Maryland has become a must-stop for us. Like, this is one of the big ones.
Without a doubt, I think our cross-country course is one of the most unique as far as the terrain and the difficulty, and also, the immaculate footing that we have here on Department of Natural Resources land, with a lot of people, putting in a ton of effort to make it, one of the best in the world. But I think when you hear the term, it's a proper 5-star, that's sort of what you hear from the international riders. You've hit, the level that they're expecting. And so having them compete against these top Americans and having these Olympic athletes, I definitely feel like we've finally hit that point where, the word's out and we're going to get more and more participants each year.
Do you already have, thoughts about what could be even – and I know on top of everything else this weekend, I know betting was an option, and you guys' partnership with Crab Sports, which was very cool to see and for folks to be able to take advantage of. Do you already have, thoughts, ruminations about, how things could be even bigger, even better, even more different for 2025?
Well, obviously we want to keep building our audience and building a wider, net, so to speak, to attract people from overseas. I mean, our charter as the Sport and Entertainment Corporation of Maryland, a nonprofit that was created to drive visitation and economic impact for the state, is we feel we could really start tapping into the international market to start bringing people, to come see this event. There's a lot of people similar to tennis and golf who want to see all the different Grand Slams. and majors, and we feel like, we've established ourselves that we can now really tap into the international market and to grow the attendance. We feel there's going to be a lot of people coming from overseas. We now have, Great Wolf Lodge and other accommodations that enable us to do that. So I feel like, that's really the untapped market that we hope to, really reach out to.
I heard a lot of folks mentioning that they were staying at Great Wolf Lodge, which is a really cool thing during the course of the weekend. Jeff, congratulations. Really an amazing weekend. I've now been up the last 2 years, and I'm blown away by how well put together everything is, and how, for someone like me who admittedly knew nothing, despite the fact, Jeff, and it's a little embarrassing because I'm married to an equestrian, but it is not my world. It is not my world whatsoever. And yet the way that I've been able to get into it and understand more and more of it is because you guys do such an incredible job bridging that gap between the community and the sport, and I can't wait to see what's next. Congratulations. Thank you for taking the time for us this morning, and looking forward to chatting with you more and more as we start looking ahead to the 2025 version of the event.
Well, I really appreciate it. The support from you all has been tremendous, and we want people to come out and check it out, because once they do, we feel like you're going to be hooked, and it's really something cool. So I appreciate the support, and we look forward to seeing everyone next year.
Thank you, Jeff. Jeff Newman, again, the Maryland 5-star. If you missed it, shame on you, but there's every reason to believe that the Maryland 5-star will continue to be a tent-pole part of the sports tourism industry in our state, and it's really worth you making the trip up or plan around it. And it was kind of wild to see. Like
Today's show brought to you by your local Toyota
over there,
dealer.
but I don't think we need that. I think we can live without that. One of me, I believe, is way, way more than enough. Imagine if you told my wife there might be two of me moving forward, she would say, "I'm good. I'm good. I'm good." Yeah, but encourage everybody to get up there and check it out when they get the opportunity. All right, still to come today, we will catch up with our buddy Jeremy Conn. A couple of folks that got in with a couple of things today. Dan wanted to know, have you turned? Oh, yeah, thank you, Dan. This is a good boy. This is a pool. Dan remembers that years ago I wrote a column suggesting that every Europe game needed to kick off at 1 o'clock, and that it was too much to ask for football fans to try to commit so much of their day to watching football. Have I changed my mind about that? I guess Dan heard me talking about how it was fun to have, remember, what was it, 2 weeks ago where we had the delay in the Sunday night game? We basically went
9 a.m.
15
until
15 or so hours, something like that. It's a good question, Dan. It really is. I still don't like when I don't like when my team is involved in a 9:30 a.m. game. When it's somebody else, I don't mind having the option.
If Chiefs 49ers was at 9:30 a.m.
Yeah, I'd be happy to watch it. Now, I've also said that there should never be a West Coast team playing at 9:30 a.m. That's embarrassing. Yeah. It's dreadful. It's difficult enough for these West Coast teams, like for the fans. They got to watch games at 10 a.m. all the time. You want them to watch a game at 6:30 in the morning? Stop. It really is difficult because selfishly, yeah, I don't mind that I'm up. I might as well watch a football game. I mean, these are the worst teams in football, and yet when I woke up, flipped on NFL Network and put the game on for a little bit before I drove up to Fair Hill. Yeah, I like football, so I like having the games. But then the moment it becomes the Ravens, I'm reminded that I don't like it. There is something about the fellowship of football that, you want to have pregame festivities, whether the game is here or not. And I don't like it. I can't lie about that. I don't like when my team participates in that game. Now, someone would say, hey, it's a small sacrifice to make. It's got to be your team. For the folks in Jacksonville, it's their team every year. But for everybody else, it's your team every now and then. Every few years, your team is involved. And it's a small sacrifice to make. 1 game out of 17 in order for everyone to have the pleasure of watching football, at all hours of the day on a Sunday. I guess. I don't know, man. I don't have a strong take about it. I don't. I watched. Of course I watched. We all watched. If you were up.
Your mark.
We're going to. It's the NFL. I don't know if you paid attention. It runs our economy. But, no, I would rather never have my team play at 9:30 a.m. I would just rather that be the case, that my team didn't play 9:30 a.m. games. So I guess I haven't evolved on that, but it's like the Thursday night thing. I know, even when it started, I said it's bad football, but I want the football. I don't think it's a good thing for teams to play at 9:30 in the morning. I don't think that behooves, when it's not necessary. It'd be one thing if, playing a 1 o'clock game in London meant that it was 10 p.m. there, so they had to play it at 9. They don't have to do that. They could play at 1 in the afternoon. It'd be a 6 o'clock local time game. There's no problem with playing the games at 1 in the afternoon. I also get that this was about trying to come up with another exclusive window. That's the big thing, is how do we create another exclusive window? But they've kept all of these games internally on NFL Network. They haven't even sold a package to Tubi or anybody like that for a boatload of money. And maybe they are making a boatload of money on these games on NFL Network. I don't pay enough attention to know how valuable the ads were, but maybe they're making a boatload of money on these games, and so they say that's the reason why we haven't.
It was Thursday Night Football was on.
Originally, it was on NFL Network, yeah, and then they realized they could sell it for a boatload of money, and they did. I don't know how important it is to play the games at 9:30. I really don't. I don't care enough to dive into this. I cared about it the one year the Ravens were playing. The first time the Ravens were playing in London, I did a little bit of work on it, and I didn't get a good answer. I really got we're trying to create another exclusive window, but that first game was
20 the 17.
Yeah, the game when they blew up. Yeah, was that 17? Was that when it was?
Yeah.
It's 7 years removed, and they haven't sold. They've created that exclusive window, and they haven't done anything with it. The prime networks, I think, care so much about their Sunday morning programming, the Meet the Press shows, that they're not going to get involved in the bidding for that. Because that's got an exclusive, the advertisers on those shows want to be on those shows. So, I know at one point they tried selling it to Yahoo, I think.
Really?
I think Yahoo had some of those, but that didn't last very long. I don't know. I don't know if it needs to be at 9:30 a.m. That was the last London game, right? Was the one yesterday, and then there's a Germany game I think still to come. That'll also be a 9:30 a.m. game.
There's only one more.
Yeah, there's no more London games.
The last, international.
They did 3. No, it's the last London specifically. There's still a Germany game this year. I don't remember who it is, but it's not. I don't think it's this week. I think this week it's back to no morning football on Sunday.
I believe you're right. At least, for this week. Okay, so we have Brazil.
I know it's not for this week, and I know there's a Germany game. I just don't know when it is or who's involved with it.
Jets Panthers is Germany, November 10th.
There you go. That's the final international game.
Also on NFL Network,
and also at 9:30 a.m.
Mm-hmm.
That's the last night. That's the only other morning football game you'll get this year.
Yes, unless something I don't know happens.
Yeah, I mean, right, sure. I don't know what that other scenario could be.
So and then wasn't the so I guess the one time a West Coast team was involved was the Seahawks, and they did play at 1, right?
No, there have been West Coast teams in recent years that have played.
Unless that was somewhere else, it wasn't in London or something. But there was a 1 o'clock international.
There had been in the past. They stopped that a couple years ago. They just made all the. Oh my! All right, hang on a second.
All right. Well,
I don't know why I care this much about that. Thanks a lot, Dan. The Broncos, it's not West Coast, but still, that's a 7:30 a.m. local time kickoff for the Broncos in 2022. And the Rams in 2019 played a Bengals-Rams London kickoff time. I just want to confirm that wasn't because I'm pretty sure that was. No, that one they did play at 1. They did play that one at 1 to make it work for the. So the only one that looks like they've kind of screwed was the Broncos, who had to play at 7:30 a.m. local time. Just nonsense. All right, so there, we got to the bottom of that. That's what we're doing today.
What about Black Friday football?
No Monday Night Football. We can't have Monday Night Football. This is what we're talking about today. Come back in. Jeremy Conn's going to join us next. This is Glenn Clark Radio. Brace yourselves for an unparalleled in-person betting experience at the Green Turtle Bet Park Sportsbook and Bars in Canton and Towson. Experience the thrill of live betting with Baltimore's only state-of-the-art Vegas viewing TV experience. Choose between our on-site tellers or the convenience of our self-bet kiosks to place your bets. Gather your betting buddies and head over to the Green Turtle Bet Park Sportsbooks today. Green Turtle Bet Park Sportsbooks in Towson and Canton. The ultimate destination for game day excitement, great food, and live in-person betting. Must be 21. Please play responsibly. Gambling problem? Go to mdgamblinghelp.org.
Hey Baltimore, it's number 10, Arthur Millette, and I'm hoping you'll slot us in all season long for the Arthur Millette Show. We will be traveling around the region all season, giving you the chance to get to know me and my teammates. There will be some football talk and a lot more. You can watch this show live on Pressbox's Facebook and YouTube pages and listen every Friday night on 105.7 The Fan. Find out more at pressboxonline.com/Millette. The Arthur Millette Show, the only show in town that's a work of art.
The next Arthur Millette Show is Wednesday, October 23rd at the Gourmet inside the shops at Kenilworth. It's brought to you by 1-800-GAMBLER and Easy Pass.
Whether your focus is luxury and comfort, convenience and technologically advanced connectivity, or sporty performance and aggressive styling, we've got the perfect Highlander for you. Check out buyatoyota.com for deals on new Highlanders from your local Toyota dealer today.
The ultimate fan experience awaits you at Sports and Social Maryland. See how we're raising the sports bar with our massive 100-foot media wall featuring 40 HD TVs and a 47-foot big screen. Bet on your favorite teams and this year's biggest events at the FanDuel Sportsbook while enjoying your favorite beers and cocktails, plus our delicious takes on bar food classics. Visit Sports and Social at Live Casino and Hotel Maryland at Arundel Mills. Must be 21. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER.
The drug scene in Maryland is changing. Fentanyl and xylazine are being added to street drugs, and you may not even know it. Xylazine is not even intended for humans, and fentanyl is an opioid 50 times stronger than heroin and contributed to over 80% of overdose deaths in our state. Anyone who uses drugs, even occasionally, is at risk of overdose. To learn more, visit stopoverdose.maryland.gov or call or text 988.
Gambling can be a fun and entertaining experience, but there are risks involved. If you're planning on betting on the game at the casino or on your phone or computer, know your limit, stay within it. Set a budget and a time to stop. Remember, gambling isn't a financial solution, and it doesn't mix well with alcohol or drugs. Know the risks and have a plan before you begin gambling. For free and confidential services, call 1-800-GAMBLER 24/7 or go to helpmygamblingproblem.org.
Driving in Maryland? Did you know an Easy Pass from DriveEasyMD.com can save you time and money? Of course you did, because you are a thrifty driver. An antenna reads your Easy Pass transponder and automatically deducts the toll from your Easy Pass account. There, you just saved money with Easy Pass, all without slowing or receiving a notice in the mail. Well done, thrifty driver, well done. Get your Easy Pass at DriveEasyMD.com.
Contrary to what some people believe, I actually like this guy when he sleeps. Glenn Clark, talking sports.
All right, back in here on GCRs, continue along on a Monday edition of the program. Coming up a little bit later on today, Stan the Fan Charles, Ross Grimsley, Luke Jackson back in action, talking baseball with you at 5 o'clock. Obviously, they'll be previewing the World Series. I have not spoken about it today because I got to be honest with you, I am at the I don't even think I will watch phase of disinterest. Like, I genuinely. I don't know what else is on Friday. I haven't even looked, but there's got to be something else I can do with my time.
Boise State,
No,
UNLV.
I've got a high school game Friday. So Boise State UNLV is Friday. That's a great point. Saturday, clearly there's plenty other things going on that I don't. It wouldn't be until Game 4 next Tuesday that I think will be the first time that I have to really think about what the other options are. I just can't. I cannot feign interest. But
since it's Friday, I think
that's me. What?
I think I'll watch since it's Friday, Game 1 of the World Series. Like if it was Saturday night, like it was.
I just have
I
no.
I don't think there's any chance I'm watching Saturday.
None. Zero interest.
Unless Game 1 is like game of a lifetime.
Like everybody can tell me about. Like, well, sometimes it's just great to watch the best players. Like, yeah, okay, you can say
Boise
that.
UNLV is until 10:30.
It's not until 11, I don't think, because it's on. Oh no, there's another game that's on at 11. Sorry, Rutgers USC is on after the World Series on Fox. They're starting it at 11 o'clock on Friday.
So the only other thing going on
Rutgers,
will be
that kind of like what they did the Broncos. They're having a Rutgers game kick off at 11 p.m. on Friday.
Obviously, you'll be busy,
And-
but the only thing on will be Louisville, Boston College.
Yeah, I'm good. I got.
There's probably an Ivy League game on. Hold on, let me see.
I think I have Spalding on Friday night. I think I have.
That's probably where everyone's gonna be actually watching.
Yeah,
instead,
right.
honestly,
I got Spalding, Blakefield on Friday.
Oh,
night.
big one.
All right, it's Monday. That means we catch
Yale Penn.
There is that. That's also an option. Every Monday we catch up with our buddy Jeremy Conn, who's going to tell us about how it was a good week for the public and not a good week for him. What's going on, brother? How are you?
Spalding, double turds. Anyway, it was a terrible week for me. This is the second week in a row where the public has won themselves a nice chunk of change, and I find myself with my cup outside the local Wawa trying to get some we like this. We like the things that jingle, but if it folds, we like it a little bit more. So
yeah,
it's one of those weekends.
Okay, so let me. I don't know if we've ever talked about this before, you and I. At what point? Because I know that this has always been your theory, and you're never coming off of it, and it's worked out very well for you over the years. How many times do you see how the Publix is going and saying, "Yeah, but you know what? Betting against it just doesn't make sense to me." Or have you gotten to a point where you're able to be completely emotion-free on that and just saying, nope, I'm betting against the public no matter what I would otherwise think about the game?
I mean, look, I'd be lying. So this past week, full disclosure, I did not have a great week. And like baseball games, obviously in baseball, the underdog and the under in the games are always going to be what the books need, almost like in the playoffs at least, because everybody sees these big offenses. And we've had these great bullpens, and they all fell apart. Every closer blew a save, gave up multiple runs. We've seen some give up 5, 6. But in the NFL, it's a little bit different because, I mean, you have to take an honest look in the mirror. We've seen 2 weeks in a row. So the week before that was the most everybody lost.
Yep.
Or maybe it was 2 weeks before that where the public just got their asses handed to them. But these past 2 weeks, what we've had is a lot of road favorites of 3 or less. Meaning that the better team's on the road, but they're playing an inferior team at home. And in years past, I'm not saying every game was money because it's not supposed just to be as easy as say that team's better, they're going to cover. And the same way, it shouldn't be as easy for me to go look at the numbers and say, oh, everybody's betting on this team, I'm going to go the opposite way. There's more to it than that, but man, it sucks when you tell your subscribers, I've got to go on today when I send out my email and send out the telegram, I know I lost people a lot of money yesterday. I know I've won them a lot, but it doesn't make it any better when you have to.
I get it. I completely understand, man. It's not a great feeling, but I also know that it's a theory and it's worked a lot. It has worked a lot for you, and there are going to be weeks like this in the process. Selfishly, because I was on the other side, I'm sorry. I love you, but I'm glad. I'm glad because I was going the other way.
Yeah.
On a good
It's funny because I knew it in my so we do picks not against the spread, and so we get in. I hate the fact that we do this every week and bring it up and talk about it because I'm the guy that's supposed to be in first, and I'm not because, when I look at the Giants-Eagles game, I see a reason. I see a path to where the Giants can win and cover. I didn't see it on Sunday. But, they throw their first passing touchdowns in almost 2 years from Daniel Jones, and it's called back.
Yep.
A goofy play, and then they just fall apart after that. But that's what bad teams have done.
Where are you with the Russell Wilson thing? Where this is maybe the most interesting take for me of the week. Nothing about what I saw last night changes my opinion that I think the Steelers are playing for a higher floor with Russell Wilson that also involves a limited ceiling. And as someone who would prefer to not see the Steelers be a threat to win the AFC, despite the fact that he looked good throwing moonballs last night, I think if what your game is underneath and moonballs, I don't think you can compete to win the AFC doing that. And so, to me, I'd still rather him be the quarterback and not find out if there's a world in which Justin Fields can become a more polished passer and become a truly dynamic threat. That's my take. Not everyone agrees with it, but where are you with Russell Wilson?
Well, ceiling's higher with Fields just because you don't know what you're going to get out of the running game. But, if we're looking at it honestly, last night Russell Wilson did two things that Justin Fields, one of which has never done. And then in another one, he's only done it once in his career. And it had to do with how many yards he's thrown for and having 2 touchdowns and 0 picks. It's funny because watching the game last night, he bounces that pass on the screen as he's throwing it out to, Austin? And I'm going, man, I just don't get it. Because I agree with you. I think Russell Wilson has a ceiling. I think they ran into a Jets team that we're all, I don't want to say hoping, but we all think, oh, this is going to be it. They're going to turn it around. We'll be doing that in week 15 when they're 4-11 or
right.
4-10, I guess. But everybody's just waiting for him to turn the corner. I think Devontae Adams, the guy the team that could have used him is Pittsburgh. And I think that would have definitely helped them out by having more weapons. Maybe they call Tennessee and see if they want to give up, a guy like DeAndre Hopkins or even a Calvin Ridley who's unbelievably unhappy. But, you look at some of the things with the league and these top-tier teams. The Steelers, I don't know how I feel about them. I know there's a lot of bad teams in the league. It is. And if you want to call it parity, I'm fine with that. But it's a really bad look for the league. Explain to me how the Giants go into Seattle and beat their asses, then come out and get their asses handed to them, and that same Seattle team goes and beats an Atlanta team that's put up 100 points in their last 3 games.
No, it's a reminder that whenever you think you know anything, you don't know anything, right? That's the reality of the NFL. And speaking of that, tonight, I feel like we've just gotten to a place with the Ravens where we're kind of comfortable with them no matter what, no matter where, and I worry about it because in the dumb guy betting world, you'd say, dude, that's a good team getting 3.5 points or whatever. I mean, look, what is it now at this point? Is it still 3.5? Still 3.5? That's a good team getting 3.5 points at home. Dumb guys would say, you got to bet that. You have to bet that every time. And yet, I feel like I have so much confidence in the Ravens that I'm going the opposite way. And I'm saying, no, I'm betting the Ravens tonight. Is there almost a dangerous level of hubris that we're falling into with the Ravens at this point?
I think so. I mean, look, I think they're by far the best team in the league. And, I mean, I've been saying that since week 3, even when they were 1-2, if they could stack some W's, then all of a sudden, you're looking at a team looking at Kansas City, they're undefeated, and Pat Mahomes looks average at best.
Yes.
The defense has carried them. So, again, looking at this game, so as I look at both teams, Tampa Bay lost at home to Denver. You're going, how does that happen? And then the Ravens blew a 10-point lead to the Raiders and lost to that team, which now we've seen is just dreadful. So I don't know, man. This is what I'm in talking about the NFL. That's why week to week everything changes, and you just can't look at it. I think it's an easy thing to go, oh my God, that team's 4-1. They're playing that team that's 2-3. Oh, they're only favored by 3 points. Oh yeah, I'm definitely taking them. And to me, that's always been, I don't want to say always, but more times than not, sucker bets. And they've all been hitting the past 2 weeks. So nothing would shock me tonight. I like Arizona against the Chargers, which that's a tougher pill to swallow. But I like the under in the Ravens game. I was all over the Ravens, and then I saw all this money coming in on the over, and I'm going, I get it. The offenses are good, but these are two teams that are going to try to run the ball, run some clock, and I think if we're coming away with 3s instead of 7s, plus 49.5, 50 is a big number.
That is interesting because, I think the wisdom would be from everybody, these are 2 high-powered offenses, so, just hit the over. So it's an interesting thought that, the style of the game could end up changing that. He's Jeremy Conn, of course, Big Bad Morning Show, 105.7 The Fan, ConcreteLocks.com. He's with us here on GCR. Have we talked to you and I about the trade deadline and what the Ravens should be looking to do between now and then? Because, look, everybody was enamored with Devontae Adams, so I'm sure it's just feeling great about his decision to force his way back with his buddy Aaron Rodgers. This has got to be a great feeling today. But I don't know. I'm of the opinion that probably if I had to rank it, I would say that edge rush would be the priority, and I think they should try to find one, but it's not going to be Hassan Reddick now, so I don't know where that help is coming. Where are you with the Ravens and the deadline?
Yeah, I mean, I heard a lot of people bringing up wide receiver, and I didn't get it. To get a guy like Devontae Adams, if you're getting him on the cheap, okay, it interests you because it's a star name, but it's not a guy they necessarily needed. I agree with you. Pass rusher first, And then it comes down to looking at the offensive line or somewhere in the secondary, whether that's safety or corner. And look, by no means are they going to make 3 trades and fill all that. You got to find the right team if you're looking for offensive line help, because nobody's just readily giving those guys away. And the same thing with pass rushers. They either have to fall completely out, a contract's got to be expiring, or it's just a bad contract that the team wants to get out from under. So I don't know that they do anything, but this is the one year if something significant became available that I would give up something in the future to go make that run.
What if it was Max Crosby? What if, like, you had to do I did this for Would You Rather Wednesday last week, and I was doing it as a bit, but, like, as I said, if it was plausible, I'm not dismissive of it. Like, I think what you just said to me is this year, given that your identity has become your playoff failures, right? Like, that's you ask around the league, what are the Baltimore Ravens? Yeah, they're really good, but what are they going to do in the playoffs? Like, your identity is now your playoff failures. And between that and Derrick Henry and not knowing how long – you only signed Derrick Henry for 2 years, and at this point in his career, maybe he's an alien that can do it until he's 50, and maybe you want to try to keep him around past this, but I don't know what to make of it year by year. And the John Harbaugh's contract is up after next year, and you got to make a decision one way or the other because you're not going to have him coach as a lame duck unless he's choosing to retire afterwards. I feel like if there was – yeah, and I agree. I feel like that if there was ever a year that, like, if they said, hey, it's 2-1s for Max Crosby, I don't hang up the phone. Like, I have to have the thought process of, might that be the difference in us trying to – can that be the move the chips to the table move – that could change everything for us and the identity of being a team that chokes in the playoffs?
Yeah, what do you think it would be to get him? I mean, I'd have to go look at his contract situation. But if I saw a player that was ever meant to play for the Ravens, it feels like Max Crosby might be that
high on the
guy.
list, yeah. Right?
Yeah, and again, it's like watching him play, it's that high motor, and he's out there on every single play, man. He doesn't take plays off. He looks like he's a crazy person. I mean, let's be honest. You know, you see him hitting a heater after the game or smoking a doobie, whatever the hell it was, with his shirt off and just having a good time with the guys. But, man, he just has that motor that you'd love to see on this defense. And it does make you wonder. Like, the pass rush hasn't been bad, but if it's better, does that make your cornerbacks look better?
Yep.
You know?
Yep. And I would think that it would. He's got 2 more years on his deal. Cap hits for the next 2 years are $28 and $24 million. But there is a lot of flexibility there because the dead cap numbers are very small. So there is the potential to work something out that could lower those cap hits for the next 2 years. The real problem would be this year. His cap hit is $30 million, and they only have about $4 million worth of cap space. So they'd have to
sign him to an extension probably.
Essentially, like almost immediately. They'd have to have that worked out in order to try to get that. Even a prorated number would be tough for them to absorb at this point.
It seems a little like a pipe dream because I don't know.
It's definitely a pipe dream. But yet, like I think my thought, Jeremy, is just like if there was ever a year to have a pipe dream, like I think the unique circumstances about this year make it a year to say, if you're ever going to go crazy about something, now's the time to go crazy. It's great that the Ravens want to be in contention every year. I love that. It has served them well throughout the history of their franchise that after that 2001 purge, Ozzie Newsome said, we're never going to be that team again. We are going to we're not going to have down and up and down and up. We're going to do our best to be good. And almost every year that they've had a healthy quarterback since then, they have been in the mix to the final week of the season, and football has been relevant. I appreciate that about them as a franchise. But at some point, there also has to be an acknowledgement of, you know, it's been a minute. You've been good. No doubt you've been good. But it's been 12 years since you've been in a Super Bowl. And it's starting to weigh on people a little bit that, like,
I didn't even, when you said that, I'm like, has it? And
yeah.
I'm like, oh my God, it has. Yeah.
It's been 12. And look, they went 12 years between the others, right? Like, that's not new. But man, like, it just feels like it's time to say we got to close that gap as much as we possibly can.
Yeah, and again, I wonder what it would take if Max Crosby does become available somehow, some way, or another pass rusher. What it would take to get him. Like, I think it's going to be at least a 1 and another pick, or multiple second, thirds, or a player going back in some sort of swap. So, yeah, I mean, the trades in the NFL, like, this is all kind of, I don't want to say it's relatively new, but we're seeing more trades nowadays than we ever have. it was always a boring trade deadline in the NFL, and now it's not the same. It's teams are out there trying to get it. But, like the way I felt about the Orioles, I didn't feel like they were there at that point to just go mortgage the farm system to get rid of your top prospects to go get somebody. Although Tarek Skubal's amazing and would have loved to have him here, but he was the only guy that I could have seen them doing that for. So it's like kind of the same thing.
Yeah,
like where I think the Ravens. Go ahead.
Yeah, no, exactly. It's so funny you say that because my take the week leading up to the trade deadline is I don't think I want the Orioles to trade Jackson Holliday for Tarek Skubal. But if they do, my reaction was not going to be, this is a disaster, what the hell are they doing? My answer will be, okay, giddy up, right? Like, I'm never going to be angry about the aggressive move if the aggressive move is being made in the name of trying to win. Now, to the point, obviously, in hindsight, that would have been insane this year because pitching wasn't the problem. The problem was offense. So, in hindsight, it's probably best that they didn't make that move, provided that Jackson Holliday figures things out moving forward.
Yeah, well, by the way, like with him, and I was talking to some other people in the organization, like, I can't wait till next year. I know it sounds like the World Series this weekend, but, like, his numbers were comparable to, like, I think it was Gunners when he first came up, or who I'm trying to remember which prospect they were talking about his numbers were comparable to, because he hit 5 bombs in a relatively short period of time that he was up in the majors. So I think the power numbers are going to be there. I just wonder, again, if you realistically, and I didn't mean to switch gears on you from the Orioles to the Ravens, I'm just trying to compare. But, like, and the point I was getting at is I don't think the Ravens, or I don't think the Orioles are like the Ravens. Like the Ravens, to me, not that you have a window, but you do. As long as you have Lamar, your window's open. But, like, I mean, I would push some chips into the middle there and try to make something work. This would be the year that I would do it. So, anyway, but, like, getting back to the baseball stuff, like, I just can't wait to see Jackson Holliday next year. And looking at the team and how they can improve, I don't know where they go unless it's moving Jackson Holliday to the outfield and then Santander's gone. What happens to Kierstead now? Do they move Ryan Mountcastle and get another first baseman, a vet? Paul Goldschmidt's name was brought up, not necessarily for Ryan Mountcastle because he's a free agent, but, like, there's a couple moves they can do to better this team. And what do they want to do with Cedric Mullins? When all's said and done, we love him here, but I don't think they're going to pay him.
I think you're right about that, but they also still need players with different skill sets. Like, that's the difficult part about this is that, like, it just can't be nothing but left-handed hitters that are inclined to try to swing for the fences. And I know that Cedric Mullins is also left-handed, but
that was the other thing I said to Rob about it. Like, he was like, if you're getting – I don't want Goldschmidt and lose Mountcastle. And I'm going, well, then you still got to figure out what are you doing with Kobe Mayo?
Right.
I mean, is he your full-time DH? Do you platoon him with, like, a Ryan O'Hearn type?
Yep.
With righty-lefty?
Yep.
I mean, he's kind of a top prospect without a position. And if they decided to make a big move in the offseason, I know they want some right-handed power in this lineup, but maybe he's the guy they end up moving because I think Basayo's up next year, so your catching problem's done. And then now if you're bringing Basayo up, that means Rutschman or Basayo is your
DHing when they're not catching, right?
So, like, it's not as cut and dry as easy as everyone wants to make it be because some people are like, oh, just bench that guy. You have good players. You have guys under contract that should be starting for a team, maybe this team.
Hey, real quick before I let you go, I'm completely out, and I know that this is different because I'm not going to bet on it. Like, I guarantee that you'll still be watching. I have no interest in watching a Yankees-Dodgers World Series. When people try to tell me, yeah, it's great that it's the big markets or the bet, it's Shohei Ohtani, Aaron. This is the part of baseball that I have never. When you default to, in the end, it was the teams that paid the most money for baseball players. I don't fault them for it. Good for them for doing it. It's just not inspiring to me. There's nothing embraceable about it. Like saying, hey, I get it. It's going to happen one way or the other. I am, from an interest level, tapped out.
What do you mean? You don't like these two teams with all this homegrown talent?
Yeah, right.
Shohei Ohtani, Mookie Betts, Freddie Freeman, Teoscar Hernandez. I think Will Smith and Gavin Lux are the only two guys that –
Juan Soto, obviously, a nice homegrown Yankee. It's great to see that. Giancarlo Stanton.
Soto, Stanton, Chisholm, Garrett Cole, Carlos Rodon. I mean, we can keep going on and on.
And look, again, I'm not faulting them. I wish the Orioles spent this much money. I do, because it can work if you spend it the correct way, but it just doesn't do it for me.
That's the difference.
Yeah,
they have to the Orioles would have to do it the correct way.
Correct.
The Yankees have had seasons where they've eaten contracts with guys that have $80 million.
100%.
The Dodgers, Red Sox, they've all done the same.
Yep.
So I think I'm pulling. I am interested. I'm pulling for the Dodgers. There's something about when I watch greatness, and I definitely think Shohei Ohtani's that. like I'd like to see him win just so he has one of those under his belt. So when we start talking about some of those things, that it comes to fruition. Because I am ultimately worried when he goes back to pitching and hitting that we see him getting hurt more and more.
Ooh, that's interesting. Yeah, that's a good point. I still think he's going to do it though. Like I don't think he's going to.
No, because it's too. That's why you paid him $700 million. It's too valuable. The thing that I said is what I would do with him is I would rest him throughout most of the regular season, then kind of start his spring training with pitching. Yeah, and then have him ready to go for the postseason. That way, you get his, him batting the whole year.
Do you think there's any chance that what we're learning in this playoffs between the Dodgers and then the Tigers is that there will be more teams that purposely choose the bullpenning thing down the stretch and into the playoffs in future years?
I think so, but look at what happened. This is something I was talking about since the first round, and amazingly, I didn't capitalize on it from a handicapping standpoint, but Cleveland had the best bullpen in baseball.
That's true.
And they pitched those guys every single game against the Tigers. And when they got to face the Yankees, all those great arms, Gaddis giving up that home run to Juan Soto, Clase doesn't look like he didn't look like the best closer in baseball in any game. Didn't even look like he had his fastball, So I guess so, man. It's just I agree with you. It's tough to root for these teams that can spend all that money, but this is what we have, and baseball is extremely happy, even though, guys like you and I are like, oh, man.
No, it's good for them. It's good for them. Yeah. God bless. It's just not – I'm saying this is a me thing. It's not a them thing. It's a me thing.
Yeah.
I am not interested. I don't care. Yes, I want the Yankees to lose, but I can't embrace the Dodgers. I'm not going to feel good about the Dodgers, and when there's no feel good or pleasant, there's nothing about this that can be pleasant to me. I'm just going to spend my time elsewhere. That's the reality of it. All right.
I got you. Is there anybody you'd like to see win? I mean, do you kind of agree with the Shohei thing, or is it like?
Yeah, I mean, no, that's the problem. Like even if there was a prominent former Oriole on one of these teams that.
Jack Flaherty.
Oh, are you kidding me? Evan Phillips on the Dodgers.
Great point. Evan Phillips and
let
Jack
that cat go, and he became a phenomenal
He
bullpen.
became really good, no doubt about it.
Yeah.
Like, but even if there was a prominent former Oriole on the Dodgers, because I couldn't even root for Zach Britton, who I love. It was a 10 as a guy, right? Like all of us love Zach Britton as a person, but even I couldn't feel good for if he was winning as a Yankee, right? Like I could never feel good for somebody winning as a Yankee. But if Zach Britton was a Dodger, I would have been rooting for the Dodgers because I was rooting for Zach Britton, right? Like,
see, I think you're missing one of the Oriole greats that is playing for the Dodgers. Jack Flaherty.
Yeah, Flaherty, of course, yes, correct.
We had such a great time with him here, and then all of a sudden the next year he turns it on.
Yeah,
I'm worried about him against the Yankees. I think his pitch arsenal is tailor-made for those guys.
Yeah,
we shall see.
To hammer him. All right, buddy. What am I plugging for you?
I mean, I'm still doing the website. I gave it a rousing rendition here earlier, telling everybody how much it sucks to go to the website. But, again, the thing with me is I'm brutally honest, even to myself, about when I'm struggling or when things are going wrong. And the thing I tell people all the time is when you're losing money, I'm losing money because I don't put out anything that I don't play.
ConcreteLocks.com with 2 N's, ConcreteLocks.com. Go check it out. Love you, buddy. We'll talk next Monday, all right?
I'll see you.
Jeremy Conn with us here on GCR. I'm not. This is the nice thing that I don't work somewhere where it would require me to talk about it.
You're not a baseball fan.
That's exactly what it is.
Baseball.
I'm not a baseball fan. It's unpleasant to me, the thought of watching this. This really does. You know what? I'm going to pull the curtain back for a second. I had an interesting conversation with a couple of folks in town who are regular sports radio listeners. And they said, I got to be honest with you. Maybe it's ironic that I'm saying this after we just talked to Jeremy. Sometimes it's tough for us. They're friends with each other, and they're like, we listen less than we used to sports, not just, this or the Fan, or to sports media in general, because it's too much betting. We don't bet, and if we don't bet, we are completely uninterested. It's not for us. It turns us off, the betting content. And it's interesting, right? Because I get that feeling sometimes. Those 24/7 betting networks, and I like those folks. They invite me on all the time. VSiN, they're great. But I can't pretend like I could ever sit and watch that content. I just couldn't. It doesn't interest me. And I bet sometimes. And it doesn't interest me. I don't think that we've ever gone too far with betting content here. I don't listen to all the shows on the Fan. I don't know what it sounds like. I don't think that's the case, but I do have to be cognizant of it. That might be unique to you. There also, as I said to them, there are other people that would say, "What's the only thing I care about sports is betting." I couldn't imagine just tuning in for a game that you don't have any action in on. Those people are real. They exist. They're like, dude, why would you ever watch Georgia-Texas football if you weren't betting? You have nothing to do with the teams. I fall far closer to the joy that I get in watching sports is the idea of a positive outcome. And what I choose to watch is something that I would find pleasant. When it's neutral, and I joked about this last week, like watching all those college football games that I just didn't care about the outcome of. When it's neutral, it's easier for me to say, well, just watching amazing athletes do amazing things and not caring about the outcome can be a pleasant outcome, right? Like that can be pleasant to me. I don't care who wins this game. I won't be bummed if this team wins. I won't be bummed if this team loses. So just watch great athletes do amazing things. That's cool. But this unique circumstance, Yankees, Dodgers, there can be no pleasant from the outcome. I'm not neutral. I don't like either of them. There's no scenario by which I say, that was fun for me. It can't be. No, it's fun for other people to just watch great athletes. And either you can say, hey, the Dodgers are the lesser of the two evils. I get it. They are, for the record. Just make that clear. And that can be what drives your interest. And if that's the case, I don't fault you. For me, I just don't know, man. It just don't do it for me. I'm not swearing that I won't. Again, game one, I'm on Twitter and somebody says, hey, it's 5. There's been a crazy game. It's 7-7 in the 7th inning. Like, okay, I'd probably be more inclined to put it on. Last night, that game did not even get my second screen. The football game was on the first screen. The basketball game was on the second screen. Bad basketball game. Can't hide from that either. Bad basketball game. The Liberty win. God bless them. Liberty, 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 Liberty. Yeah, God bless them.
Good for New York. They
really
it's been
a tough stretch for them. Was the officiating bad? Absolutely. But the basketball was also bad. Minnesota can yell about the officiating all they want. They sucked. Did they deserve to win the game? Maybe, but only because the other team was also really bad. Yeah, the foul at the end was bad. There were travels. I mean, there was a lot of officiating issues. But for Minnesota, Cheryl Reeve was way over the top. Way over the top after the game. Yeah, I don't think the officiating was great, but you really think that you earned it? That's the first thought, not hey, maybe it would have been good for us to function. It just looked like a game where the nerves are so outrageous for these teams.
Well, then what? Brianna Thornton, Ionescu were
Ionescu was awful.
They were combined 15% for something from the field.
Oh my God, Ionescu. Other than the 1-3 she made late, she was awful.
There was a little in the basket one.
Stewart missed 2 free throws late. It was bad basketball. But that was still more compelling to me than watching the Dodgers and the Mets. It just don't do it for me. In a scenario where there's no alternative, like Friday afternoon when there was no other thing to watch, I was like, I'll poke at this. There's nothing else. I'll look at this now. But given that there'll be alternatives, I just can't fathom choosing. I cannot fathom choosing. Yankees, Dodgers. Sorry. I'm just out. If the Suns are playing, I'll watch the Suns. If the
fair weather fan.
What do you mean fair weather fan?
Yeah.
Of what?
Yeah. Fair.
Of what?
Of sports in general.
Of sports?
Yeah.
Okay. So I need to grin and bear it.
Yeah.
I need to.
Yeah, you do.
I need to get punched in the nads and say thank you. Can I have another?
Yeah.
Okay. Sure. Nah, dude. Y'all can enjoy it, man. And again, like if the circumstance plays out that I end up watching, we'll see. But it's just not. It ain't for me. This one ain't for me. We're in hour number 2 of today's show. It's also been brought to you by County Sports Zone. CountySports.zone is the website for you to find the latest in the high school sports scores, news, polls, everything you need to know, not just for football, but for every sport, every team, every school across the state. They've got it at CountySports.zone, proudly sponsored by your local Toyota dealer and buyatoyota.com. When we come back in, we will get a tidbit and tubular to wind things down for a Monday edition of Glenn Clark Radio.
The ultimate fan experience awaits you at Sports and Social Maryland. See how we're raising the sports bar with our massive 100-foot media wall featuring 40 HD TVs and a 47-foot big screen. Bet on your favorite teams and this year's biggest events at the FanDuel Sportsbook while enjoying your favorite beers and cocktails, plus our delicious takes on bar food classics. Visit Sports and Social at Live Casino and Hotel Maryland at Arundel Mills. Must be 21. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER.
Driving in Maryland? Did you know an Easy Pass from DriveEasyMD.com can save you time and money? Of course you did, because you are a thrifty driver. An antenna reads your Easy Pass transponder and automatically deducts the toll from your Easy Pass account. Learn more at DriveEasyMD.com.
PressBox's Project Game Day is the place to be after every game this season. Join Glenn Clark, Rita Hubbard, Super Bowl 35 champion Femi Ayanbadejo, and our cast of regulars as they break down what happened, why it mattered, and what it means moving forward. You can watch the show at PressBoxOnline.com/gameday or PressBox's Facebook and YouTube pages. Project Game Day is brought to you by the Green Turtle Sportsbook in Towson and Canton, Easy Pass, and HelpMyGamblingProblem.org. So join us for Project Game Day after every game day this football season at PressBoxOnline.com/game day.
Treat yourself and taste the Baltimore tradition that is the legendary Costas Inn. Hey, it's Stan the Fan Charles. For over 50 years, the Costas Inn has been a Baltimore original, dishing out their legendary fat, delicious, award-winning crab cakes and steamed crabs. It's crab season, so sit back and crack some crabs while watching the Birds pursue another divisional title on Costas' 15 TVs. On Monday night, the Costas Inn offers their half-pound jumbo lump crab cake with 2 sides for under $30. So head on down to the Costas Inn today at 4100 North Point Boulevard or visit them at CostasInn.com.
The votes were all counted, and the results are official. Royal Farms was named number 1 for food in the USA Today 10 Best poll, receiving more votes than any other convenience store chain in America. The next time you want to get some good food fast, doesn't it make sense to go to Royal Farms? Voted best in the USA and home of world-famous chicken. Real fresh, real fast. Royal Farms.
Gambling can be a fun and entertaining experience, but there are risks involved. If you're planning on betting on the game at the casino or on your phone or computer, know your limit, stay within it. Set a budget and a time to stop. Remember, gambling isn't a financial solution, and it doesn't mix well with alcohol or drugs. Know the risks and have a plan before you begin gambling. For free and confidential services, call 1-800-GAMBLER 24/7 or go to helpmygamblingproblem.org.
Brace yourselves for an unparalleled in-person betting experience at the Green Turtle Bet Park Sportsbook and Bars in Canton and Towson. Experience the thrill of live betting with Baltimore's only state-of-the-art Vegas viewing TV experience. Choose between our on-site tellers or the convenience of our self-bet kiosks to place your bets. Gather your betting buddies and head over to the Green Turtle Bet Park Sportsbooks today. Green Turtle Bet Park Sportsbooks in Towson and Canton. The ultimate destination for game day excitement, great food, and live in-person betting. Must be 21. Please play responsibly. Gambling problem? Go to mdgamblinghelp.org.
Coming back in here with Glenn and the other guy, Garrett, whatever his name is. You know who they are.
All right, back in here on GCR as we continue along here on a Monday edition of the program. Getting ready for game day tonight. Obviously, Ravens, Buccaneers, Project Game Day immediately following. If you haven't picked up the print issue of PressBox yet, it is available everywhere. Got out over those couple of days last week. everywhere where you find PressBox throughout the region, including lots of Royal Farm stores. Get out there today. You can always read it at PressBoxOnline.com. On the cover, Brooks Dubose on the Baltimore-built duo of Derek Queen and Juju Reese reuniting in College Park this season. A lot of college basketball content in there. Meet players from all the programs around the state. Again, go get that today. Read it all, PressBoxOnline.com. How about a tidbit?
All right, let's do. Was this Friday night? Yeah, it was. Or no, it was Saturday. It was Saturday. And UNLV and Utah State, they had the over/under was set at 78.5, highest college football total in almost 2 years. And 78.5, still not enough because New Mexico beat Utah State 50-45 on Saturday night. For anyone that I think was that the late game. I think that was the late window for anyone that
I believe you. I was not.
And Alabama does have 2 losses now through their first 7 games. That is something that happened under Nick Saban only once. 2 losses through the first 7 weeks
I don't remember the season that it happened under Nick Saban.
It was his very first in 2007.
There we go. All right.
That is the only time that happened under Nick Saban. So maybe maybe good if Kalen DeBoer can follow that same. If this is the only time that happens, then means he's doing pretty good. Saquon in his I guess you can call it kind of homecoming to MetLife. He out-yarded the Giants himself. He had more total yards than the Giants did. He had 187. Giants had 119 total yards in the game. So that was a nice welcome back, I guess.
I mean, what do you want to say? The Giants aren't good.
Browns became the first team since 2008 to have 3 different players record 10-plus pass attempts in a game. It was...
Yeah.
It was the Chiefs in Week 7.
How about that?
In 2008. Can you name any of them?
2008?
Yeah, the 2008 Chiefs.
Was it Brody Croyle on that?
Brody Croyle was in on it.
Who else would have been in 2008?
I don't recognize any of these 3 guys.
Aaron Murray, by chance?
No, not Aaron Murray.
I was just going to go with SEC quarterbacks.
Come out.
So there's no... It's post Trent Green.
I can't give you any hints because I don't know these guys.
You don't know these guys?
No.
That's shame on you. 2008. The Ravens played in Kansas City in the playoffs in 2009, right? I want to say.
Yeah, I guess. 9-10. So they turned it around. How did they turn it around? Oh, because they drafted. No, they traded for Alex Smith. How did Alex Smith?
No, Alex Smith didn't show up there till. Was he there by 2000?
I think he was. No, Alex. Yeah, because Alex Smith was on the 49ers Super Bowl. So who did the Chiefs have at quarterback? Castle? No.
Maybe the answer might be Matt Castle. You might be right about that. No, but it wouldn't have been by. Castle was definitely in New England in 2008 because 2008 was the year that Tom Brady got hurt.
Yeah.
But did he go immediately after that to Kansas City? That might be the answer.
Yeah, he was in Kansas City 09 to 12.
There you go. Matt Castle solved all of the problems. Now
but he's not the answer to this one.
Back to. I've got one. I've got Brody
Croyle.
Oh man, I don't know.
Damon
Heward. One of the 3 quarterbacking Hewards, of course. Brock, Damon, and Luke were the 3 quarterbacking Hewards.
And then there was a Tyler
Palco?
Thigpen.
Oh, Thigpen. All right, yeah, sure.
Tyler Thigpen, Damon Heward, and Brody Croyle, the last, and now of course Dorian Thompson-Robinson and Jameson Deshaun Watson.
How about
will be the next trivia?
How about that?
Whenever this happens again. So Tommy Edman for the Dodgers, he batted throughout the series. At one point he batted 4th in the lineup. He also batted 9th in the starting lineup. He's the 4th player to do that.
Stop it.
Sarah Langs has this.
Stop it.
She did it.
You don't think this is something people are supposed to get?
2019 in the ALCS.
Come on, man. An Astro?
It was not an Astro. It was the loser of that series.
Oh, God. Now I got to remember who the loser of the Yankees?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Orioles legend.
Aaron Hicks?
Aaron Hicks batted 4th and 9th at different points in the 2019 ALCS. And then in 2017, also in the 2017 World Series with the Dodgers. He's currently still on the Dodgers. Well, I shouldn't say still. He has had several stops and then has come back.
Several stops and came back?
Yeah.
Who am I blanking on here? Several stops and came back. Hang on a second. I'm going over the Dodgers roster in my mind, trying to figure out who I'm not thinking of. Several stops and came back. Kike?
Yes, Kike Hernandez. Yeah, batted 4th and 9th during that World Series, the 2017 World Series loss for the Dodgers there. And then in 2011 in the ALDS from the Tampa Bay Rays.
2011 Tampa Bay Rays. So it could be anybody because they basically had every player in baseball. Longoria.
You just want to give it to you?
Sure.
Matt Joyce.
Matt Joyce.
Matt Joyce in the 2011 ALDS for the Rays,
Yeah.
batting everywhere. Also in that Eagles-Giants game, Jalen Hurts rushed once again for a couple touchdowns. I think, a couple touchdowns doing the tush push. He is now third all time with games with passing touchdown and a rushing touchdown in his first 5 seasons. But that's not the question I want to ask because
for God's sakes.
The question I want to ask is the player with the most games of multiple rushing touchdowns and at least 1 passing touchdown.
Most games of multiple rushing touchdowns and 1 passing touchdown.
There are 7 players with at least 4 games.
With multiple rushing touchdowns and 1 passing touchdown. Lamar Jackson.
Lamar Jackson was 7th on the list. He has 4.
How many am I supposed to be getting?
7.
Michael Vick.
No Michael Vick.
Multiple rushing touchdowns, 1 pass. Cam Newton.
Cam Newton is number 1. He has the most 8 games.
How about Steve Young?
Steve Young. 5 games. He is tied for 4th.
Fran frickin' Turkenton.
Nope, not Fran. Fran did this less than twice, if ever.
Okay, what do you want, a cookie?
I'm just trying to
Russell Wilson.
bridge the gap here. No Russ. He has done it 3 times, though.
How about, it seems like a much more random group all of a sudden, Josh Allen.
Josh Allen is on the list. Tied for 2nd with 6.
How about, I don't know. How about
we were just talking
Elway?
About, no Elway.
I was just talking about somebody.
Well, who I modeled the tidbit around.
Modeled the tidbit. Wait, what? It was around Jalen Hurts.
Yeah, Jalen Hurts.
What?
Yes, Jalen Hurts. Yeah, what good guess. Jalen Hurts tied with Josh Allen for 6 games.
Stupid.
And so we're missing 2.
How about Aaron Rodgers?
No Aaron Rodgers.
How about
Aaron Rodgers has done this twice.
Good for him.
Yeah.
How about How about Dak Prescott?
Not Dak Prescott.
Another Prescott?
No, sorry. I didn't mean to.
Yeah, you emphasized the wrong syllable. How about Tom Brady because he just fell forward for a yard?
No, not Tom Brady.
He's good at that.
We have a former Raven on this list.
Former Raven. Could be anybody. Randall Cunningham.
Not Randall Cunningham.
Cordell Stewart.
5 times appearing on this list. / And then also 5 times appearing on this list. Was kind of created the list because he was going to be had the most for a while.
Warren
at 5.
Moon.
Not Warren Moon. Even further back.
Otto Graham.
Not Otto Graham.
Y.A. Tittle.
Not Y.A. Tittle. Gonna get there, I think.
I'm gonna get there.
Maybe.
I'm gonna get there. You
had
say.
A career.
Roger the Dodger.
No, had a career in politics after football.
Jack Kemp.
Tied with Steve Young and Cordell Stewart. 5 such games.
Before we do Tubular, why don't you tell everybody what's going on at Live Casino and Hotel?
I would love to. You get free $7 in slot play every time that there is a touchdown during home games for Baltimore or Washington's football teams. Hopefully you were there at Live Casino yesterday in Hanover because Washington was scoring a lot of touchdowns during their home game. So you get $7 free slot play. Live Rewards members who have their Live Rewards card inserted correctly into the slot machine, any slot machine on the floor, you got to be actively playing. And once those touchdowns score, $7 in free slot play. At Ronald Mills, must be 21. Please play responsibly. For help, visit mdgamblinghelp.org or call 1-800-GAMBLE.
Hi, I've been made aware that there is an issue related to the website. I apologize. We will try to figure it out. I I don't know. Hey, John Colson, come here for a second. Yeah, this doesn't seem great. Could we try to solve this? That's
former partner.
I don't know anything about that. I just know that's what happens if you try to go to that website right now.
Yep,
Can we work on
solve
that?
it. Yep.
Okay. Why you turn?
Yeah.
You can't hear him.
There we go.
All right. Thank you.
I think Paul might, but let me see what the situation is.
Yeah, I don't.
I'll get right on it.
I don't know anything about it.
Okay.
I don't know anything about it.
Bye.
Yep. Thank you.
Did it give you any
Would
warning?
you like us to buy that again?
Y'all can make that determination.
Bye.
Y'all can have that conversation. It's $9. Oh boy, I
Also,
just
we
feel
should-
like
maybe we should keep this. People might be going out and they're
we
gonna
don't.
buy it. and
If
then-
we don't want to, that's fine too. We just need to have it somewhere. It needs to be somewhere. Yeah, thank you. We are working on it. That is my promise. We are working on it, and we will effort a solution. Whatever that solution is, I don't know. Here's what I also don't know is how I'm going to tell you about what's coming up totally tubular-wise.
Oh, you can't.
Because I posted it at the website, and I can't access the website currently.
You probably go off the top of your head, right?
There's
Nottingham
two football
Forest
games.
has a game
Yeah.
today.
Yeah, exactly right. Everybody remembers that.
I forget who they're playing, but they play.
Sure, if you say so. Well, why don't you go ahead? We'll try to do it anyway. Totally tubular.
Have you ever thought of taking a cruise to these wonderful destinations with sunny skies and beautiful beaches? Well, wait no longer. We're ready for you to cruise from the Cruise Maryland Terminal.
Have a little phrase that you can go from baggage to margarita in about 15 minutes.
Choose fun with an array of destinations, onboard activities, entertainment, and world-class cuisine.
Contact your travel agent and book your cruise today. Let your adventure begin.
All right, here's what I know is going on. What I know is
the
going
Ravens
on
play, don't
is
they?
The Ravens are in Tampa to take on the Buccaneers at 8:15. I know that beyond any shadow of a doubt. That's happening.
Got to get Manning cast as well.
There is a Manning cast with Joe Flacco and Ed Reed. I will not watch any of it, but God bless.
I don't. Well, now I have a big decision to make because I don't know what.
Apparently, the Manning cast is supposed to cover both games, so I think it's gonna start. But I mean, like the second game starts at 9 o'clock. The second game being Chargers Cardinals. That one is only on ESPN Plus, except for you can if you're watching the Manning cast. I guess they'll be looking at that game as well. So ABC and ESPN for Ravens Buccaneers, and of course following that game, Project Game Day, and then ESPN Plus for Chargers Cardinals at 9 o'clock. Now things get a little bit dicier. As I mentioned earlier, Maryland soccer plays UCLA tonight at 7 o'clock. That's on Big Ten Network. So maybe before the game you can check out a little bit of that. So there's that.
Well, there's EPL.
There's an NHL game.
There's an NHL.
Lightning Maple Leafs, 7:30 on NHL Network.
Crystal Palace, Nottingham Forest.
That's on USA.
Is it on you? That would make sense,
Yes.
right? Yeah.
3 o'clock.
Sure. Yes, that game starts definitely at 3.
Monday Night Raw at 8 o'clock on USA.
And then following that will be the season 1 finale of The Anonymous.
Oh hell yeah!
On
whatever
USA
that
as
is.
Well. That's the reality show where people are anonymous or something.
Sure.
And I talked about it at one point.
That show has been anonymous to me.
A couple premieres. We have Papa's House on CBS. If anyone's not watching the Ravens,
What is Papa's House?
It has Damon Wayans and
Damon Wayans Jr.
Yes,
I did see something for that.
And so they play father and son in the show as well.
Yeah.
It's a very sitcom.
Now that sounds like a stretch.
Yeah. What?
Damon Wayans and Damon Wayans Jr. playing father and son.
If you can put everything else aside,
I don't know about that. That's
should be a hoot, definitely. And What We Do in the Shadows, sixth and
It's
final.
tonight?
Yes.
Oh hell yeah!
6th and final season.
Now I got something to watch. Screw the Ravens game.
Premiering on FX and will be available on Hulu tomorrow. So the 6th and final season premiere. Samuel Jackson and Justin Hartley and Tommy Richmond all on Fallon tonight. Great trio there.
Promoting the election?
I don't. Maybe. Well, Justin Hartley's in Tracker.
Okay.
Tommy Richmond's got that $1 Million Baby song that if you.
I do like that song.
Yeah.
I can't even lie.
Right.
I like.
It's been overplayed for me.
$1 million. Well, yeah, it's overplayed, but like, so what? So is everything else.
I'm not sure what a
I still like it better than Espresso.
I don't know what Samuel Jackson is plugging. Maybe Fight Night still, but the finale was last week or 2 weeks ago.
Is there another Marvel movie?
No, I guess there's going to be at some point,
Probably.
but I'm not sure. Steve Martin and Martin Short will be on Seth Meyers, along with Juno Temple as well, because she's apparently in the new Venom movie. Juno Temple.
I didn't know that.
And then Brian Cox will be on Stephen Colbert.
Of course, Juno Temple was what's her face in Ted Lasso. Keely.
Yes,
Keely in Ted Lasso. It was great.
Yes.
All right, that it?
Yeah, that is it.
Very good. Sometimes I say sometimes it happened once recently in conversation. I got Juno Temple confused with the person who played Juno in Juno that transitioned, and I can't remember.
Elliot Page.
Thank you. That I could not think of. I was like, no, it's Juno. It's a whole thing. All right, very good. Thanks today too. I would say go to glennclarkradio.com to see all of it, but I don't know.
Probably.
Hopefully, at some point today, you can go to glennclarkradio.com and you'll be able to see Totally Tubular. If not,
just hit rewind on that.
We had a good run. We had a lovely.
This is how it ends.
You never know, Griffin. You never know.
You just keep going until the website just doesn't work.
Yeah, it's the way it normally works. All right. Thanks today to.
We didn't mention, of course, Francis Ngannou did win his PFL super fight.
Yeah, you've said that.
With Henan Tejeda.
Thanks to Rick Stroud. Thanks
Hopefully
to Jeff
fight
Newman.
Somebody legit.
Thanks
soon.
to Jeremy Conn. We'll get it all up in the greatest hits section of the.
Oh my God, it's so good.
That's what you have.
Well, that's what we're gonna just go back to it, right?
No, I didn't know that. Tab at Glenn Clark.
Cowboys are dead. Mets are
dead. I thought we were
dead.
gonna come up with something.
Oh, I gotta come up with
Tab
something.
at Glenn Clark Radio.
That's what it was for a while. So.
I just thought we would come up with something. Like something new, something fun, something kitschy, something that's out there. Something that maybe the kids would enjoy, you know?
I'm not very in touch with the kids.
All right, very good. Thanks to everybody. Tomorrow, anything? No, why would I think there's anything? Femi will join us.
Yeah, Femi will join us. Joe Serpico will join us.
All right, yeah. The Waiver Wire Wednesday. Yes. Sure. Thanks a lot, too.
Oh, my gosh.
Jaden Daniels and Debo Samuel. Thumbs up. Big. Actually,
here, you want to see the score of my
I'm still
going to
win a league. I'm going to beat Gonzalez's son in one of those leagues.
And so I'm up by. So the score is 52-49.
Yuck.
I had Jane Daniels. He had Anthony Richard. I mean, it's a mess.
Yeah.
We both were disastrous. My highest score was the Bengals defense.
Hey.
So I have Mike Evans. He has Marvin Harrison Jr. and I'm up by 3.
No idea. No, I mean Mike Evans better play. I guess it starts with that.
Well, he doesn't carry designation.
He didn't have a designation, but yeah, I assume he's playing. All right, we'll recap the game tomorrow. And we'll do pats on the ass or slaps to the helmet, whichever way it goes. Hopefully the former.
And you can find those at the
Yeah. Thanks, everybody at PressBox, all of our great sponsors and partners, including Live Casino and Hotel, Cruise Maryland, Crown Trophy, Easy Pass, Royal Farms, Green Turtle Sportsbooks in Towson and Canton, HelpMyGamblingProblem.org, Costa Sin, MSAA, the Baltimore Orioles, your local Toyota dealer, buyatoyota.com. Thanks to Griffin at Griffin_Bass. Follow us, Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok at Glenn Clark Radio. Have a great Monday evening. Go Ravens. Duke sucks.